And we're live.
We
Let's
are live.
see. I don't.
So is
Oh,
Ethan.
there's Ethan. Hey,
Hey,
Ethan.
Ethan.
Well, hello,
Hey.
everybody. Sorry about we're a little bit late. We're running behind a little bit, 6 minutes it looks like. And yeah, so today we were just thinking of getting together just to hang out and talk. And we thought of two subjects. One of them being the entire answer to the life's questions in the universe and explained exactly what happened and why. Or we could talk about guns and black powder. And we figured guns and black powder are a little bit more important than the whole universe thing. So, yeah. So how you guys doing?
I'm doing just fine. I'll tell you this though, Snapper. You got somebody here, Benjamin NG, has a whole bunch of questions right off the bat.
Uh-oh. Is it Benji?
Nope, Benjamin NG.
Hold on. I'm trying to see the...
It's at the very top of the live. He commented them earlier about an hour ago.
Oh, okay. I can see these now. That's how you doing?
Most of them are asking Jake questions.
Okay.
No.
All right. So it's Benjamin NG says, hey, guys. As someone who is interested in self-priming muskets, I have a few questions about self-priming for muskets. You guys know much about self-priming? Are we talking
The
like...
Austrians did it.
Ethan does.
The Austrians did it.
Yeah.
I can't remember
Explain
what model
it,
it
Ethan.
is. I was actually looking at a picture of the breech block on one of the, or the breech block, the breech on one of those the other day. And basically the way they did it was they had the touch hole was huge, obviously.
Mhm.
And the breech actually came past the touch hole. And there was a trough that ran diagonally down to the touch hole from the breech face. So that was how the Austrians did it. And it was, you got to have a step by just going or closing your hammer, pouring your powder, ramming your cartridge home, and then giving it a shake, and it should go off.
It'd fill a little reservoir for your powder, and
Yep.
you're good to go. Now,
Yep.
how constant was that? Was that a reliable system? I'm guessing not, since it didn't.
It was
become
actually
really popular.
pretty. It was actually pretty reliable. The problem with it was you had uncontrolled gas flow out of that huge touch hole, and it was not the most accurate.
You couldn't
and
get
also
consistency out of it. I'm guessing.
you could not get consistency, and it actually dropped the power supposedly pretty drastically because all the pressure was bleeding out the back. It was so much that the Austrians ended up going back to a standard musket.
Kind of reminds me of the trade muskets, like
Mhm.
By the
I know a lot
indigenous
of the-
native warring forces.
It just
Yeah.
with them.
I mean, I guess they must have liked it, but I mean, to each their own. And I know Jake today, he had his long-term milling of black powder finally video come out, which
Yeah.
once again, you proved yourself right over all the naysayers of it doesn't matter. And I guess for fireworks, that's probably true. But for precision firearms, probably,
and
well, it's not probably, you
that was
proved it.
something I should have elaborated on because I've had a whole bunch of people saying like, well, pyrotechnic powder is not the same. And yeah, you're right. The quality doesn't need to be nearly as high. So I probably should have specified that a little bit.
But at the same time, you still get people saying you're wasting your time by going past like 4 or 5 hours, which is, yeah.
There's always a few people out there that have the magic ball mill, as I like to say, because they can mill their stuff for 4 hours wet and then dry it out, and it's better than any black powder you can buy. And I've tried all that stuff, and I haven't been able to do it, but maybe I'm just doing it wrong.
I've never milled my powder wet.
It's never worked out for me, man.
Never worked out, huh?
Yeah, no, because eventually it's going to dry, and when it dries, it's going to leach nitrate back out of it, and you have unincorporated ingredients. And so anytime I've ever tried wet milling something, what I ended up doing was after it was completely dry, I'd have to mill it again.
Mm.
And, I found that it's just mill it all together one time and get it over with. That's what I prefer.
good luck, but it's not as good as say like a very long ball mill session. Of I would ball mill it for I don't know 6 hours or so, and I would stick it in a bucket with a bunch of denatured alcohol, and to the point where it is a liquid. Kind of stir it with my hands and let it all dry out, and I had pretty good luck with that. And then pressing it, but I still didn't get the high end quality of say the stuff you brought down that one time. The
Yeah.
toilet paper. That was some of the best homemade,
I'm
black powder
I'm
I've ever
convinced.
used.
I'm convinced if you mill that cottonelle for about a week, you might end the smoke this fad known as the smokeless powder era, and everybody has to go back to black powder because
story.
black powder is all of a sudden more powerful and more cleaner than smokeless.
Yeah, watch 10,000 feet per minute or 10,000 feet per second out of a
Yep.
tiny little rifle. I'm telling you, 1 year that would be cool. 1 year in ball mill.
When you're in
I
a
always
ball
think
mill.
that smokeless
It'll
is
turn
just
into a nuclear
passing fad
explosion.
anyway.
Yep.
Yeah, well, yeah, smokeless is definitely a fad.
You milled for 72 hours, right? How many times did you have to declump it?
Every morning, so after 24 hours, I turned off the mill. I took it all out and I ran it through a sieve, just a screen, like would be my 1F screen. And I made sure it was unclumped and I poured it right back in there and ran it for another 24 hours. So twice, I guess.
Well, Ethan's running an experiment of 100-hour powder just because he forgot to shut the mill off.
No, it was just 3 days. It's gonna probably be the best
Careful
French
now.
Napoleonic trash can powder you ever did see.
That's not a fair test.
No, that was my last batch. I forgot to turn it off. So all my other ones I did at 24 hours. So
Yeah.
That
I have
was
a question
longer
for you
than that
guys.
treadmill ever ran in its life.
When I personally notice that when I'm ball milling, every like 4 hours or so, mine clumps up really bad to the point where I have to. But it seems like it clumps up again in like less than an hour after the first 4 hours. So I'm always in there banging and stirring it all loose again. Do you think it's just too much moisture in it, like in something that's in the ingredients? It's what I kind of thinking, but yeah, I don't think that's normal.
I think the humidity, depending on where you're at, might have something to do with it. After we purify our nitrates, we put it in the toaster oven and dry it out. And then we put it in our little magic bullet blender and blend it up. And we put it in a bag and we seal it up. And we have a thing of desiccant balls,
Mm-hmm.
and we pour that in there. And because you want it as dry as you can, you start getting moisture in there and then you have different weights. I found you can get almost as much of a gram extra in a 100-gram batch of nitrate that's just water weight, which I don't think
That would
will
make
throw
sense.
it's not going to throw your stuff off that bad, but it will make a difference. But you want to make
That makes
sure all your
sense.
stuff's really dry, and we don't have really bad humidity like you guys do back east and down south and stuff, but people talk about the clumping thing all the time, and it's not really that much of an issue, I guess, at least not where I'm at.
I think it's. I personally just think it's probably where I'm storing my potassium nitrate. I think that's probably the only reason why, because it's in underneath the sink in a bathroom.
Yeah.
So
Are
could be
you
why.
guys still using lead though?
I am. I haven't
Yeah.
I
changed
am.
that.
I'm doing it just because I'm too cheap to buy the ceramic or brass yet. I need to do
Hey,
it. I need to do it. Trust me, I 100% agree. I need to do it.
what I did the other day, we're milling some right now with this, is I took some Berdan primed 308 or 7.62 NATO cartridges and I filled them up with lead right up to the base of the shoulder, and then I just flattened them off and crimped them shut. And we're going to try using that as brass media because those things are heavy. They are really, really heavy. They weigh between 650 and 750 grains a piece.
It's a good idea too. I mean, that's a really good idea. It's cheap and easy.
Yeah,
It works.
and it's brass. So the reason why I
It's a good
ask if
idea.
you guys are using lead with the clumping thing is, you end up getting lead particles in your powder and it's heavy. And I kind of
Mm.
wonder if that might not add to the clumping problem that everyone talks about.
I declump every 12 hours, and the only way I do it is I just take, because you and me both have, you're still running the PVC mill on the treadmill, so we have the same setup. I literally turn it upside down and tap it with a hammer and shake it a bunch. But I found that when I first started, I built mine just like yours with 4 lifts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, about 70 pounds of powder in, one of the lifts fell out.
Yeah.
And then another lift fell out. Now I only have 1 lift. And it's still mixing, but it doesn't clump as bad for some reason. I don't know.
Well, hey, there you go.
I don't know if it's right or wrong, but it's still
Fixing itself.
Yeah, as long as it works.
It's still working. Depending on the powder we made, I'm right between Coex and Swiss. That's where I'm staying at the moment. Ethan's probably wanting to change it up a little bit, but so I'm happy with that. But I've noticed that like when you start getting it so well done that you get up there past Swiss, that's when I have trouble with fouling. It seems like the fouling picks up is when the speed does. But have you ever noticed that? If your powder is not quite as powerful, you get a little less fouling?
No, I guess I haven't. But one of the toilet paper ones that we experimented with, it was really fast.
Mm-hmm.
It was faster than Swiss by I think 50 feet per second, and it was incredibly dirty. Incredibly dirty. So I guess that was one instance where I saw that. But you know, another thing that'll make it dirty is the more dense it is. If you're compressing your stuff to 1.85, 1.89, it'll be really dirty.
Yeah, the
It's
dirtiest
good for me to know.
powder we have made was I used the Tim, I can't remember what his name, but it was a Liverpool recipe from 1640 that was like way out, like way.
Oh, was that the
way more charcoal than normal?
That was
that the Roger Bacon
powder or something, right?
Yeah, and
yeah,
I mean, it was fair. I mean, it was not compressed because the way they described it, it wasn't compressed. Now, I find something very interesting. They differentiated in that report between caked, corned, and serpentine powder, and their version of corned powder was screened. But I always thought corn. I always consider that means you cake it, you press it, you break it. But they called that cake powder. They called corn powder screened because it was clumped into a ball by hand, and then run through the screen into corns, I guess. And then they had the serpentine powder, which is basically just milled and nothing, just right out of the mill, and they shoot it early handgun stuff, I think. But yeah, that stuff it had a smoothbore fouled out in about 5 shots.
Wow.
Yeah, this might beat that. This powder I just got done making. This is what the French are shooting in the Napoleonic War. I don't know how well you can tell it, but that's 2 kernels of French cannon powder. It is.
Come up closer
huge.
to your camera, Ethan.
Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah.
Nice.
That stuff. Yeah. It's huge. And surprisingly, I tried it out in my 1766 Charlottesville. I just put it in the priming pan to see how fast it would ignite, and I tried it 4 or 5 times, and it went every time, and it was instantaneous. So I was like, well, so much for the finer powder, the more reliable and faster it ignites. Because like this stuff actually lights pretty easy.
How dense is it? It's compressed, yeah?
Yes, it is compressed to 5 tons. That's what the French did. The French are actually, I believe, one of the first countries to start corning their powder. They used a roller press.
You are over, because I'm going to say this because Jake has a mathematic equation, and I always forget what it is to come up with the pressure per square inch. But what he's doing is he is over weight of volume by weight is more than volume. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I got that written down, but not on me. It's a different recipe too. It's a 3/4, 8/8, and it's limewood charcoal.
Limewood, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
What is the equation for PSI that you were using, Jake?
The way I calculate it is 30 millimeters wide, 30 millimeters tall, and each puck is 37.1 grams. And that gives you 1.75 grams per cubic centimeter.
Okay.
So easy
It
math.
seems a lot
Easy
easier
math.
to just press it and then stick it in your little, volume it and then see how much it weighs. And if it's too
I
light,
like
press it again. If
It's
too
a lot
heavy,
easier to
then
press it, grind it, and shoot it. I left the chronograph at home, but she still shoots the point of aim.
Well,
I was watching some guy on YouTube was like, yeah, you can measure it out and weigh it, or you could just put a tablespoon of powder in the fucking dye and it'll be good to go.
Yeah.
I was like, yep, that's what I'll do.
Yeah, and
I mean,
I did that for a long time. I just use I would give it 2 tablespoon scoops, to do that. But the reason why I calculate it is just so I can be scientific about it and have it all the same across the board.
Yeah.
science.
Well, in your defense, you have to with some of your commenters that you get on your channel. You have to have your P's and Q's all aligned.
Oh yeah.
You do get
the Crisco kid.
The interesting fellows. You get the very interesting fellows.
Yeah.
So let's see. Let's go to the comments again. Go down it for a little bit.
I'll be right back. I'm going to find that.
I mean,
Benjamin NG, yeah, you could use a hammer stall and be pretty safe with a self primer, in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. He had a question.
A barrel igniting the powder. We can make self priming safer by putting the leather cover over frizzen. Yeah, that's.
Well, here's the thing.
Go ahead.
It's probably not correct, but I'm pretty convinced that if you've got a gun on half cock, a flintlock, a good flintlock mechanism, it's going to be very hard to get that gun to go off on half cock.
Yeah.
You're going to have to snap the sear off, or I don't know.
You know what I think it is? A lot of people believe that the sear that's like your half cock sear is just a ledge. So it just, if it slips a little bit, it's somehow going to fall, and it's not. It's like a channel.
Yeah, it's a channel.
It actually goes into. So you can't. That's the reason why the trigger gets stuck once you put it in half cock. It doesn't do anything because it captures the trigger and everything. So if you hit that really hard, all you're going to do is sink it in deeper into that channel to the point where you're going to start bending and then breaking stuff. It's not going to be like an accidental drop and it go off. It's not going to happen.
And even if it did
physically break something,
even if it did magically pass the half cock notch, I'm pretty convinced that unless you've got a really good sparky lock, it'd be very hard to get enough energy to even get a spark from a breaking off your sear on the half cock notch.
Funny, interesting video to try.
I wanted to do it for a long time.
Ignite at half cock, because that's pretty neat. Because I know like the single action army and stuff, they want to ignite a primer at half cock.
He already blew up his one allotment of breaking a gun for this year. So,
well, I've wanted to do a video on why it is not unsafe to prime before you load if you go to half cock, thanks to a certain individual on YouTube who has an 1870 Henry, or an 1870 trapdoor, saying that it was 100% unsafe to prime before you load. You should never prime your musket before you load because it'll go off in your face. I said, it's funny. I'm pretty sure there were hundreds of thousands of guys that did that for like 300 years.
Yeah.
And if it was that bad, you'd think that at some point somebody had done something different.
You know what's bad?
That was just an initiation right. So that means that everybody got shot in the face.
Just blow your hands off.
It shows how tough they were.
What's bad is when you said he had an 1870 Henry, I was about to go look for the video because I believed he probably put that out. I was like, oh boy, here we go again.
Here we go. The only reason to make that better is definitely if it had a little bit of Crisco on the side. And then it still wouldn't go off.
Somebody up there, somebody up there was saying something. Let's see. It was a funny comment. Did it disappear? Oh, yeah. Kodak Tackman said we could always unravel space-time continuum with a 90-grain charge and a Walker.
Yeah.
That is true. Matter of fact, that kind of brings me back to now that I'm starting to settle down and like getting back to normal, and especially during this hot of the summer, I can't really go out and ride as much. The project we were talking about, like, I don't know, about 6-7 months ago,
6-7
Jake and Garrett. Yeah, it seemed like forever ago now. I really want to start filming for that soon. I kind of need your guys' help if you wouldn't mind.
Well, you're going to have to remind me what project that is.
Biblical.
Remington? The Remington?
The biblical project.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the divine drop tube.
To get
that's
Garrett in trouble.
I think it's okay now. You can release it whenever you want. You should just play it on a live chat.
Oh, it'd be hilarious. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you, we were laughing so hard. I wish I could like let everybody know on this because I don't even have it anymore on my phone. I have to look it up. But yeah, we sit down for hours just coming up with stuff that FUD say and adding it to biblical text, and it was good. It was real good. Good laugh.
Me and Garrett were talking about that drop tube video today. I said, you know what? It's almost like muzzle loaders in and of themselves are large drop tubes, and some of them even have grooves cut in spirals to help the vortex action.
We talked about that. We learned a long time ago that rifling does nothing. It does not help your accuracy at all. All it helps is that drop tube effect to spin the powder while it's going down. Nothing else. It doesn't grip the ball, doesn't make the ball spin. It's only there as the drop tube effect. That's it.
I've heard guys say that Flintlock rifles are not accurate past 100 yards, and I'm like,
stand out at 100 yards and find out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's funny about the drop tube thing, and I still get comments on that video, is I'm not sure why, but apparently in other countries, they use a drop tube with their muzzle loading firearm. With their smoothbore or rifle, they'll use a drop tube on top of loading it in their rifle.
So you need like 2 meters of fall just to make sure that the rifle works?
I guess it's like, the barrel on my 45 is 44 inches long or something.
It's a drop tube unto itself?
You need another 18 or 24 inches on top of that?
Get this. I don't know if this could very well be true, but I had a guy tell me the other day that in true long-range muzzleloading shooting, we're talking where they get the chunk guns, those big ones that are special made under hammers. Yep. He said that they will build stools to stand on and load instead of tilting the gun, because when they're loading those long barrels straight up and down, they get better compaction than if they're tilting the gun, and it improves your accuracy. It might be true, but to me, I was like, wow, when you're at this point, you took the fun out of it.
Yeah, I would say so. But you know how any competition gets, there's going to be somebody looking for an edge.
Oh, yeah, especially those competitions.
I mean, it kind of makes sense, but at the same time, you think that the whole drop tube thing kind of isn't for compaction in a way. It's kind of more as I guess it is, but the idea is to move all the air down to get them to be closer to each other. And you'd think that at a slide, you'd be able to do the same thing because you would just scoop it back out. I don't know. I'm just talking.
You never heard that one yet, Jay?
I've been in this shot too long.
No, I don't know, but I heard several people that say, oh, well, in Sweden or Switzerland, mostly it was Europe, if I remember correct. Well, we used a drop tube with a muzzle loader, not a cartridge, and it was like, why? Isn't the barrel a drop tube?
One large drop tube.
But you got to remember, they also clean their guns with synthetic transmission fluid.
Yeah, right.
Over there, so they got a different way of doing it.
Well, I mean, if it is like Sweden, I mean, they haven't been to war in how long, so they probably don't know this yet. Just saying, they haven't learned that lesson yet.
We apologize to all the Swedish
viewers. We apologize to everybody here that's Swedish.
Careless.
Matter of fact, they actually make some of the coolest weapons, by the way, like the Carl Gustav AT4.
Well, even in the Flintlock era, they were pretty dominant in the wheel lock and matchlock era.
What, drop tubes?
No, the Swedes. The Swedes had drop tubes. That's why they were effective. That's why they were effective.
That's what happens when you don't follow the conversation close enough.
Gustavus Adolphus said, make sure you bring your drop tubes out into the field. We'll win the battle that way.
Yep.
Louisiana
Gray matter of fact, if you look at a Carl Gustav, technically it's just a drop tube for a rocket.
Louisiana Gray said, now we know why Wetzel was able to outrun the Indians, because he was hopping on top of his barrel as he reloaded. Oh, that's good.
That's hilarious. What's the difference between FG and triple FG powder, and does it matter? The 4FG Just self-prime from the barrel to the pan, even when the touch hole is normal size. I think he's still talking about
I was reading that he's still talking about self-priming muskets. His question
self-priming.
was building paper cartridges with a quarter or so of the powder in the bottom being 4F, so that when you dump it, it's finer and goes through the touch hole.
I never heard about that.
Yeah,
that's an Austrian thing, and I'm not a big Austrian musket guy.
He didn't say it happened. He was just wondering what you guys' opinions are if it would work
on it.
Yeah, I mean, that would work. But the issue that I had when I was trying it with 4F and I was, loading a 50 grain charge and it was coming out the touch hole, so I'd have to close the pan, is it packs the pan so tight and the touch hole so tight with 4F, you have a hang fire. So even though it's like self-priming, it's not all that great. I still would rather just have to prime it, and make sure it goes off clean and easy as opposed to having a hang because it's all packed full of 4F.
Yeah.
It worked. It's worked real good one way for about 700 years, and seems like everybody on the internet's trying to figure out how to make it easier. But it's not that hard, Duplex. I sent Jake a text the other day, a video. One guy, and I just love this old guy. They were talking about mixing black powder and what was it? Black powder and Pyrodex, yeah. And he was like, okay, guys, let's just admit it. Nobody does this.
Nobody does that.
Nobody does this. Why are we even talking about it? I was like, I like this guy. He's just kind of down to earth. Why in the world would you? Which I guess if you wanted to save your black powder or something, I don't know.
Pyrodex is just, I'm convinced Pyrodex is like 5 or 6 times more corrosive than regular black powder.
Oh, I 100% agree. 100% agree.
I'm not going to lie. There's sometimes I may go a few days without cleaning my muskets with real black powder, and they're fine. I can go and I can wash them right off, and there's no rust or anything. If I were to do that with Pyrodex, it might be a different story. I might not have much of a gun left.
When Jake, you came down, I completely forgot to clean my 51 Navy. I have it back there, and I didn't notice it until today. I still haven't cleaned it since you were down. So I got to clean it, but there's no corrosion on the gun. Looks good. I wish I could show everybody, but it looks like I shot it yesterday. Like it still has the white residue all over it.
Yeah.
But there's no corrosion. There's no rust. There's nothing in it. It looks fine. And we've had a lot of rain this year too since then. So yeah.
So hang on. That was 4 months ago? 5 months ago?
That was like 4 months ago, yeah. I cleaned every other gun, and somehow I missed the 51 Navy. And I didn't even notice until today. I was bringing everything down today, and I somehow missed the 51 Navy. It was I even had it out in another video, and I just didn't notice it. And I was just looking at it, and I was like, why is it all white on the front? And I was like, oh, and I looked down, it is still full of, carbon and whatnot from when we fired it, fouling.
Well, a lot of that.
Yeah, I completely forgot to clean it.
A lot of that has to do with your lube as well, protecting it. But people in the chat have to remember Snapper lives in an extremely dry environment. If you were in Florida, you could not get away with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't be able to get away with that in Florida. But I mean, we have had a lot of rain this year.
Mm-hmm.
So it has been more humid than normal. But it's still, I mean, I live in Death Valley. So
the longest I have seen a run like that was with Duke, where we went up in August of one year, shot 100 rounds of the big heavy 40 grain 45 Colt through his Model P, came back in June the next year and shot another 100 rounds through it and then cleaned it.
I have a question with this real quick, guys. Can I turn my camera off, take like the cylinder, put the cylinder down, and then turn my camera off without me holding the cylinder? Can I show the cylinder on this? I don't know.
Your channel.
It is my channel.
Well, let's just put it this way. AR American
I'll take that risk. I haven't had any
over and touching a forearm of a disassembled forearm gun, so you might be all right.
I think I'll be okay. I haven't had any disciplinary actions in a very long time, so I can at least get one.
Yeah, you're overdue.
So I'm gonna
guys.
Them are rookie numbers.
Them are rookie numbers. So give me just a second. I'll turn my camera off. I'm going to disassemble it, and I'll show you guys the cylinder.
You haven't had your channel shut down in the last 3 months. You're not trying.
You're not doing enough. Just give me a second. Where is she? Here she is.
Oh, my.
I feel so bad. This is like a pretty expensive gun to just,
Angry Ranger Jake wanted to know if anyone here has used American Pioneer powder, remarkably clean and makes its own lubrication.
No, I get asked about
Pioneer
it all
powder.
the time. I've never come across it, and I've never tried it.
Never even heard of it.
Yeah, I think
All right,
it's made by
boys.
Jim Shockey, if you know who he is.
Who?
Jim Shockey.
No, I'm not familiar.
He's a gun writer, big time hunter, and stuff like that. But
that's probably why I never heard of him.
yeah.
Right. What about him? He made it?
Yeah, I think it's his deal, but I people ask me about it all the time. I've never even seen it around here. But it's a substitute, so I'm kind of not too interested.
Louisiana Gray said, "Can I add a little candle wax to that Blackie Thomas lube?" Depends on which one you're using. The ones that we've been using for like lubing the rifles and stuff, that's not actually for like supposedly not for like a cover lube. He has one that is for lubing bullets and cover lube, and he has one that's for Flintlock. So I don't know which one you're talking about.
Like, cause I know his bullet lube stuff works really good. It's basically his muzzle loader lube, but it's just thicker.
Yeah.
I found myself using that a lot in the cap and balls as well. It works great. That stuff is magic. That could be why this has got no rust on it either. Magic. So here, give me just a second. Let me try to figure out how to turn around my camera. You
need a cane off the side of the screen.
Hold on. More.
Oh. So how does a powder make its own lubrication?
That's a good question.
Made in the Crisco factory. Fixes all the problems.
That's it.
It ain't going to be invented for another 4 lustrum. I can just see Duke saying that at a reenactment, too. It ain't historical accurate. It ain't going to be invented for another... If we'd have had it, we'd have used it. If that's the case, pulls out his 1911.
Yep.
That's the case. Let me go grab my AK. See how the 1860 Henry does after that. I don't know why I keep saying 1870 Henry.
Yeah, if you got the gun butter, that's for like coating the bore. But you got some of that, didn't you, Jake? The gun butter makes a Remington run a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, it works. It works really well. I thought the same thing. It was a little runny, but it sure did the trick.
Mm-hmm. It just takes a little bit to keep the gun going.
Yeah.
Well, that's Remington for you.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Doc Landon C said, not sure if anyone else seen it, but found some new Remington number 10s in the wild. One of the big chain sporting goods stores today. Cool.
Wow.
Oh, number 10s. That's awesome. All right, so as you can see,
it's see
very.
I need a bell.
Yeah, I see it.
But
so is that toilet paper powder?
Yep.
Yeah, it would be. It would be the toilet paper powder. It's just black and white, and that is that was in what? January? End of January?
Yeah, end of January.
Poor thing. I can't believe I forgot to clean her. But yeah, it's there's no rust. I don't see anything that resembles rust. I will be taking the gun completely apart and probably even doing a boiling session just to make sure. And we didn't get shut down, which is awesome.
Yeah, Doc, I was just discussing with Jake and Snapper how I'm going to start working on converting all my rifles and shotguns to 4-wing or musket caps if I can. All of them that I can possibly do it to. I got a lot of them, and I just got tired of fiddling with little caps on those long guns, I mean, on a revolver, obviously, but sure are easy to handle. It is easy to handle a 4-wing musket cap.
I remember when I stopped playing with cap guns.
Oh, ha 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 ha! And then bought an original Lehman cap gun.
Yep, that's the only cap gun I own. My little 18-pound 32 caliber rifle.
I don't think I've ever seen Jake shoot a cap lock on video outside of a few maybe percussion muzzle shotguns. No?
Yeah. You know, thinking other than revolvers, I haven't really seen you do any rifles that are at all, Jake.
He's just shaking his head. Doesn't play with that modern trash.
Well, I'm looking at a pattern F musket, and my brother and I were gonna go in halves on it. And he even said, "He's like, are you sure you want to own a cap?" I was like, "Well, you'll own that part of it." So, you know.
There is something about flintlocks. When you start shooting them and you get used to them, it is hard to go back to cap locks.
Well, my thing is I just don't like fiddling with the caps. Trying to get the cap tin open. You got these little things. You drop them all over the place. I like priming from the cartridge.
I have a feeling, though, if I was hungry and I actually had to survive by hunting, I would probably not want the flintlock just because.
Oh, you could get along. You could get along.
I take a flintlock.
I think so. I mean, I'm sure they get it. They obviously got along, but you might have better chances in rain if you had or a crappy day if you had cap lock.
It depends. I know Jake's got something to say there, but I will.
Jake is all like, "This is blasphemy."
That's exactly what I was gonna say, but
flintlocks are a learning experience that you don't pick up in 6 months. It's something when you start out, especially with a cheaper flintlock, and then work your way through, and you really work those problems out. You start learning how to seal that pan in the rain. You start learning how to look for things, you know, and it's not going to work every time in the rain, but you know, plan ahead for that.
Get an oilcloth wrap, put it around there.
A little wax in the pan to seal it.
Put it over the
Well,
lock.
I'm sure if you just took the diligence of making sure you loaded it properly and you took care of it, I'm sure you probably wouldn't have any issues.
And once you've figured out how to get a lock tuned correctly,
that's it.
They are like that one on the bottom here, that 1774. I just finished it the other day, man. I got that lock just perfect, and that thing just, the sparks make sparks, and those make sparks. So you just see, it's like a fireworks show, and it goes every single time.
I would say that it's funny when I go back and watch even our videos, because when we first started, we had a mix of really cheap India guns, and we had some originals that were really good. Didn't matter which one it was, our misfire rate was a lot worse then than it is now.
Yeah.
Because we know how to prime, we know how to sharpen flints, we know what angle each gun needs the flint at. It's a learning process, I think.
Well, it also helps whenever I may or may not have, when we did that flintlock running gun, me and Caleb did a few years back, and I couldn't get that 1733 pistol to go off. I've learned a lesson. It helps to not still have a cleaning cloth patched at the bottom of the barrel. That was what I could not get that gun to go off, and finally I shoved a little powder in that touch hole, and I had a cleaning patch down on the bottom of there.
Shootout. That's fine. All right, let's see if we've got any new comments. We're way behind.
Did you have a learning period, Jake, with your flintlock before? Well, I say that, then you get a Kibler and you get spoiled because his locks are just.
Yeah.
But those, you didn't ever have to go through that period of I got to figure out everything about this. And
oh, sure.
Usually it's all the shooter error.
Yeah.
His Southern Mountain Rifle, my God, that thing's so nice. Man, I want one.
Man, I wish I had one.
That thing will probably go up underwater.
Took me a second to get what you're saying there, Garrett.
I'm not going to lie. It's my favorite, probably my favorite gun of all time. That's Southern
Well,
Mountain.
when we go squirrel hunting, you're carrying what? A little 7-pound rifle? Yeah. Me and Caleb have both got the bench 18-pound 30 caliber rifles.
I have never actually shot one in 45 like Jake's. I've held them, and man, they're lighter than my 36 by a considerable amount.
Yeah.
So.
It is a very, very light petite, little, just handy little rifle. I mean, I fell in love with that thing. I didn't think I was. I knew I was gonna like it, obviously, but I straight up fell in love. I'm not gonna lie, Jake. I was considered stealing it, but I'm sure I wouldn't get very far.
It's difficult to conceal.
Yeah, it is a little difficult to conceal.
You don't consider that when you buy that the first time that it doesn't fit in a single cab pickup at all unless you roll the windows down.
Yep. Stick it out each window going sideways.
Yep.
Carson said Jake's Kibler. I think he's glazing the Kibler lock there. He said Jake's Kibler is so good it even went off when the flint was flying out of it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that thing it was just a gorgeous, beautifully balanced rifle. When look at that slow motion footage, it made it look easy, like really easy. Because I'm a flinching person, bad, and that's the only gun I've never flinched. I was like, holy cow, I can't believe I didn't move at all. And it's the gun. It was 100% the gun, not me.
Well, a lot of people start with those traditions, flintlocks, which is fine. But they have such small locks and such small pans and everything's so tiny. And you can make them work just fine. But then you hand somebody who's been using one of those for a while, hand them a Kibler, and you'll make a believer out of them pretty quick.
Yep. What do you guys think of the new Fowlers that he's making?
Looks pretty good. Looks sweet. What is it? Double wedding ring? It's a different kind of barrel.
Yeah, it has what do they call it? A 3-step or something? I read the thing and I thought like, oh, that looks interesting. And then I read it. It's like, oh yeah, this was a thing that nobody does anymore, but it was very popular back then, I guess.
Well, I guarantee you.
I'm looking at it. I haven't seen it.
In this group, somebody in this group will have one eventually. Well, you got to, Jake, because you got to have the collection. You don't have a Woods Runner. I don't
own a Woods Runner. I've been trying to talk my brother into buying one because he keeps saying like, oh, I need to get a Flintlock. I need to get a Flintlock, which I've been, yeah, of course you do. Get a Woods Runner. We don't own one of those. Get one of those,
There you go.
That's what I kept telling Ethan. I was going to invest in and I had a guy offer me some full length Hawken kit stuff, so I might be going to do that. But I wanted a iron mounted early Virginia Jim Chambers in 62 caliber rifle. And then I kept telling Ethan, but what if I should go ahead and get the Kibler Colonial in 58 so we could have them all? And Ethan's like, oh, we got Kiblers. We don't need all of them.
Hey, yes, they're like Pokemon cards. You got to collect them all.
Do you think he'll end up making Hawkins?
Who, Kiblers?
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised he hasn't already, but
it would be a huge seller with how many people do Rendezvous.
It would.
I agree. I think that's something would be really neat to see him do, especially a really good, really accurate.
I mean, there's people that do 18th century stuff, obviously, where he's at in the East, but Fur Trade Rendezvous is second only to cowboy action shooting as far as your general public people that go out and do stuff.
Right.
So, yeah, I think eventually he will because and if he makes it historically like perfectly accurate, because nobody does anymore,
right.
He'd just be printing money, I think.
I think so too.
But he's the kind of guy who you're going to have to twist his arm to get him to put a percussion lock on it.
He's going to make what he wants to make. He's not going to make what's going to sell the best.
I don't know. I don't know that. I don't know that he'll do it because of that.
Yeah, that's what. And
I think that's the hang up.
I think we all know that Flintlock Hawkins existed, but they're so rare in history that it's an argument.
Yep.
So I don't know if he would do it.
Yep.
That would make sense too, and I would actually respect that, just on the fact that
that's not his.
But then I'm like, you need to make a Ferguson. You need to make a Ferguson.
Oh.
I want a Ferguson.
That would be one that would cost a lot to make and probably not sell that much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be the only idiot buying one. I guarantee it. If somebody actually made a really high quality,
you probably see a lot of them getting turned back in because the Ferguson's kind of known for breaking right there under the lock. It's very, very thin. I'm gonna say I got me.
Sure does love them.
I go back and forth on that Hawken thing a lot because half the time I'm like, I really would like for the era that is around here, the percussion half stock Hawk, and a real one, one that looks right. Yeah. And then I'm always like, yeah, but if I was in that era and I had a flintlock, I can go way further back. You cover a lot more ground with a flintlock. Yeah. So it's each their own. I guess some people really like that.
Yeah, I got the predecessor to the Ferguson sitting down in the basement in kit form still. It's like number 4 in the line of kits that got to get built. The pattern 1776.
So now that you're getting a little bit more experience with the rifle shop kits, how do you like them? Are they really difficult, or are you starting to get the understanding so it's meh, it's okay?
That one wasn't bad.
It's the bottom one on that rack, isn't it?
That bottom one is the one I just did, and it wasn't, I mean, it took me, I was on and off of it for a few months, but I would say I've got probably 2 or 3 weeks into that build. I had to reshape the whole forearm all the way down, and I built the lock, and building the lock was the thing that took forever, and I had a terrible time with that one trying to get it to spark, and what I realized was I was going too hot on the frizzen. I was getting it to orange, and I needed to get it just to a medium cherry red. And then I went and I sit there, and you're supposed to let the carbon sit there on the face of it, or medium cherry red, for 2 minutes. Well, I actually let that one sit for 15 minutes and let it come there real deep. And it's, like I said, it is a very good sparking gun now.
Parker. Oh, you know what you could always try too, instead of doing the face it? I mean, I don't know how.
Shoe it or sole it.
If it would help, you might break, is actually coat it and stick that casonite, or make it yourself with charcoal and stick it in a clay, make a little bowl, stick it on the inside, completely fill it, and then move the clay all the way around it and just throw it in the fire and come get it the next day. Because then it would completely harden the whole thing through.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of guys do that. They'll wrap it in rawhide, and they'll put it they'll wrap it in rawhide. They'll need a ball of clay around it, and then they'll shove it into a tin can, and they'll put it into a stove. And I've never tried that yet, but I might. Also, I'm looking back at a lot of these originals, French muskets. A lot of them have hammer soles or frizzen soles, where matter of fact, that 1774 frizzen originally had a sole riveted onto the face of it. So you can still see where the rivet holes were.
Yeah, and that's something you want to stay accurate to, at least on that style of rifle.
Well, on that subject, Ethan, Gray Pilgrim wanted to know if you've used any of those flints he sent you from the Peninsula campaign.
I have not, but I know where they're all sitting at right now, which is pretty impressive for how organized I am. I might, though. I think I'll put... Yeah.
Hey, Doc, the rifle shop sells them.
What is it?
You just got to build them, and they're probably not that hard to build.
What is it?
Knock volley guns.
Yeah, that might be a little bit of a. I don't know how hard that one would be to build. No, I've got
the barrels come all put together and everything.
Yeah, the barrels come put together, but you still got to, if you're going to build the lock and everything. Building a lock isn't as hard as people make it out to be. It's really not. Like, I think I spent less than 2 days working on that one. Aside from the frizzen problems.
Imagine how easy it'd be to build a percussion lock.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wheel locks are not, the later wheel locks aren't too bad. Like, it took me a month to build the last one.
So how do you like that anyway? I still have 0 wheel lock experience, and I still really want a wheel lock. But now that you've gotten to play with them and make one, what is your opinion?
I'm in love. Matter of fact, now that I got the 74 done, because that's going to go into the Independence Day video I'm going to be doing. I'm going to go back to working on my paddle butt wheel lock, which all I got left to do is I've got 2 bone inlays I've got to put into it, and I've got to put on the thimble for the ramrod, and I got a little more shaping to do on the stock, and then I'll finish the wood, and it'll be done.
Yeah, Doc, if you go back and check out our video on the rifle shop, Ethan and Jesse go through there, and he gives a pretty descriptive detail of how they build those knock volley guns.
That's funny. Cool. He's talking about the Davy Crockett Museum wanted a knock volley gun. He said, "What do you want that for? It has nothing to do with Davy Crockett." And they said, Yeah, it does. Haven't you ever watched the Alamo?
I could not own one of those. I have enough trouble cleaning one barrel after I shoot, let alone 7. And then you get the double knock volley gun and have 14 barrels on one gun.
I would want one just for the sharp experience. Bill, what's his name? I can't remember the Irishman. Patty.
Jeremy was asking Jake what got you into trying duplex loads.
Probably because it sounds scary.
I had a feeling it was going to be just because everybody said you can't do it and you shouldn't do it.
The duplex load is like the most gate kept load info I think I've ever come across. I mean, it's really strange how there are people that there are people that'll do it, and maybe they don't want to tell you because they're afraid of getting ridiculed or something from all the safety rangers that'll tell you it's dangerous and it's gonna explode your gun and all that stuff.
That has never bothered Jake one little bit. I mean,
no, he doesn't care about that.
Shoot smokeless out of his cap and ball revolver.
He's only had one Remington give up the ghost. That's all, and it was a Remington's fault. If it was a Colt, it wouldn't have.
It earned.
I'm sure it did.
That sounds about like trying to put 1,200 grains of 4F in an Indian-made barrel and then putting a little 2-inch firecracker fuse on it, lighting it, and running like the devil.
The difference is Jake would have probably just shot it from his shoulder.
There's the difference. I'm not going to lie. I was going to dive behind the tire whenever I did that video. That fuse was a little shorter than I was expecting, and I didn't make it to the tire. I was in midair whenever that thing went off.
I could just hear your brother's commentary on that video.
Which one?
If you was to shoot that from the shoulder and blow one up from the shoulder, he would have such hilarious comedy.
Like, man, that was bitching. That's all I hear in the background.
Awesome.
It's like, that was bitching.
Garza,
no, that'd be funny.
I don't know if you meant Patrick Harper, Ethan.
Yep, that's who I was thinking of. Harper.
As a matter of fact, though, Jake, I do have to give it to you. I was always on the fence on why would you even want to try the duplex loads, but now I actually want to try them because it seems like there's a definite advantage in the duplex load.
Yeah.
Just for cleanliness, if anything. Fouling.
What do you think about duplexing a muzzleloader? I'm sure you already tried it, and I just don't remember. But
no, I have not tried it. Even though I've been asked to try it 1,000 times, I haven't. He
hasn't the gun he wants to experiment with yet. When it comes to that, he loves them too much.
I don't think it would work with a flintlock. I think you'd have to put a little bit of black powder down first, and then the smokeless on top of that. But based on the Remington experience, a certain level of compression, even with not a lot of smokeless, can have a detrimental effect.
So I gotta ask, was that Remington in your hand when you did that?
Yes.
I figured it was.
Well, we've always said that guns without a top strap run better anyway.
Oh, yeah.
That's true. You made it better.
That's a good way of looking at it.
Remington's got a top strap. They're indestructible.
It's just, he just gave it a little more space for fouling up there.
I'm just saying, it wouldn't have broken that top strap off if it was in a Colt, because it wouldn't have had one to break off.
That is a good question. I wonder if it would have loosened the arbor, or since all that pressure could have just leaked straight out the top.
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Nothing.
I know somebody with an monstrosity of a 51 Navy. It's in 44. Blasphemy. Actually, it's not blasphemy. We actually need to make that look like a real 44 Navy.
I was about to say, don't know there, Snapper. I'm going to have to give you the speech.
No, I know.
It is incorrect to say a 44 caliber 51 Navy did not exist.
No, I know. We need to make yours, Jake, look like the real one. The one and only real one.
It is incorrect to say they didn't exist. They weren't common, they weren't produced, but they did exist.
Yeah,
It
see,
did exist.
this is the thing, right? Is your it's what we like to call the impaling horns of the dilemma. So you can go with either everybody knows they didn't make one, so yeah, don't get over it. And then there's people like you, Garrett, that say, well, actually they
Well,
did.
they did.
Well, yeah, okay, but they made like 3 of them.
Okay,
Why
here's
would
the
they
thing.
made them?
I will not ever take that argument to somebody's like, I've never really heard of them doing that, or I don't think they did that very commonly. It's the people that were watching. I don't have a video on a 51 Navy and 44, but a lot of people have them. A lot of people make videos, and it's that first commenter up there. Those things never existed in history. This is a fantasy gun. That's the guy I saved that speech for.
Good.
You're wrong.
The one thing we've all learned, I'm sure, is you never say never when it comes to this. Because I guarantee there's one out there somewhere. There's one.
Never say never. Never say only. Never say the biggest, the oldest, the first.
The first.
Yep. The last.
My favorite saying is to the best of my knowledge.
There you go. As far as I know.
As far as I know.
Exactly. But that's if you see a video, somebody, and it gripes me just because the people who are writing these comments like that usually have a Wikipedia base of knowledge on the subject.
Oh, yes.
And they're ready to give that person who just was out making a video on a 51 Navy and 44, never existed in history, blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
1870
if you want to go down that road, we'll go.
It always goes back to that saying that I've heard so many times in life. The people who know a lot about a subject don't talk about it, but the people who know very little are the people who believe they're expert. And I've seen that my entire life and everything.
It just makes me mad when somebody's out not
One
trying
of
to
them.
make a historical video or anything. They're out having fun with maybe a traditions cap lock or something, or a Hawken or something. We all know it's not a Hawken. We all know it doesn't even look like a Hawken, but they're having fun. They're shooting. They're in the hobby. Let them go. Let them have some fun with it.
Yep.
Then you got the people who are like, I am the arbiter of truth. Everything I say is historically accurate. You are not allowed to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Here's Geronimo's mother-in-law's trapdoor.
The 70 trapdoor. It's the 70 trapdoor.
Yeah, we won't go there. You guys will get me on a rant that won't stop, and I've already had that in the last 10 minutes. So
Me and Garrett had that rant earlier today on different videos.
Same topic?
No, I mean same subject matter. Namely, we were talking about the 1870 trapdoor Springfield and the 1766 Charlieville.
We just decided that we were sitting
definitely
back and
original.
We're monitoring your comments because I'm just looking for the excuse to make the video. And I've already made one, but I'll make a few more if I have to. That's
by the way, if anybody listening to this, if you're ever bored and you want to have a fun time, just go through Jake's comments. They are some of the best. Some of my favorite times have been reading Jake's comments in his on his videos. I've never seen somebody get so much retarded crap written in his comments.
I'm not gonna lie, I had quite a bit of fun trolling the Crisco kid.
Oh,
we got him up to like 60 comments.
Yeah,
somewhere out there, the Crisco kid is out there doing Crisco kid things, living his best Crisco kid life. I think we scared him off the internet, though.
My two favorite Jake controversies, Crisco kid, and there's no way that Walker's chambers today are the same size as original Walker chambers.
I still get that comment. I think I texted you guys last week. It's like, there it is, still happening.
Well, I told you when you made that video, because you told me you were going to do it, and I said, just batten down the hatches. Here comes the storm if you touch the Colt of Walker.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, because we all know that the Colt Walker was more powerful than the infantry musket of the time period, It had definitely more powder than 150 grains of powder in a 64 caliber musket ball.
Sure.
We all know that God used the Walker to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. That's why all those sulfur balls are still down there. He's using black powder. All you need is a Walker.
There never was an atomic bomb.
That one. Dang it.
Never was an atomic bomb. All they did was fly over Nagasaki and
All they
Hiroshima and
did
fire
was-
their walkers off.
Now you're
They were
just
firing
using
their walkers
Mike's
off in the
video.
B-29s.
Oh, was that mentioned in the video?
Yeah, he dropped the atomic bomb in the video. You didn't see that?
Oh,
You know the largest atomic bomb, the Tsar Bomba from Russia? All they did was do a duplex load in a walker. That's all it was.
yep. No, they used a drop tube in the walker with some Crisco.
And a drop,
And that was the Tsar Bomba.
drop tube.
Drop tubed a duplex load in the walker, lubed it with Crisco, and shot a 260 grain conical out of it with 90 grains.
Especially the holy drop tube. It has to be the holy drop tube.
You guys are going to unravel the space-time continuum.
Continuum.
Oh, you guys in the chat, you don't realize how much fun we have. Jake will just about once every day send us it's been a little less than that here lately.
It's been a little while now.
You must be getting better commenters because you used to send us one every day.
Well, I don't want to spam you guys with all the ridiculous stuff.
Oh, no, we love this. I live for the comments in your videos. I swear to God, I live for it. That's some of the funniest, best times I have is going to do some of the dumbest stuff I hear people say in your comments.
Well, I had one
sometimes because he'll send it to us, and all of a sudden we're like, "Oh, we gotta go on this," and then all of a sudden we have all three of us just picking on this poor idiot.
I had one guy get on there one time and call me racist because I was wearing a Confederate uniform, which definitely wasn't a Union uniform. And it was funny because of all people who got onto that comment section and started kind of trolling that guy was Brett from Paper Cartridges. It was pretty funny.
A lot of people don't realize that, and it legitimately will build a video. If you can get a string of comments that's 100 comments long, YouTube looks at that. They don't care if they're nasty, negative comments. They look at that and say, traffic.
Oh,
well, I said we got the Crisco kid. We got the Crisco kid at like 60 comments.
Oh, it was more than that. We topped out.
It was a while.
Yeah.
We're keeping
going.
And
it's all just because we're snake salesmen. That Blackie Thomas's gun butter was just snake oil.
Snake oil.
I like Gary Pilgrim backwards conical. Yep, that's how he got rid of Gomorrah. Sodom, he just tried the drop tube with the
90 grains of powder and a backwards 280 grain conical bullet. 280 grain conical round ball. Sorry.
That's it. That's it.
280 grain conical round ball. That was more powerful than the infantry musket.
Oh, man.
90 grains of powder. And there's people in the comment section will be like, well, they probably had their tower of power out there cramming it in.
Patch round ball in the Revolutionary War and your smoothbore musket.
Yes, sir. Them Rangers had the tower of power out there cramming that powder down to get that nice. I don't know how well that would even burn if you could get it in there that tight. It'd be like shooting a pellet.
It would be. It'd just have one giant pellet, technically. If you cram that much into it, I bet you could compress it and get 90 grains, but you're probably not going to be able to get a lead ball in.
What happens, Jake?
You'd need a press. I think.
Oh, yeah. You have to put it in like a 20-ton press at least.
Do you think the air to fuel ratio would be actually slow it down at that point or not?
Yes. I bet it would.
Yeah.
I bet it would.
There's only one way to try, boys.
Snapper?
No.
Remember, it's for science.
I love
for science.
Every time we get an idea, text Jake, hey, Jake, you know what you ought to do? Because we know he'll do it.
Bend the loading lever, make it a forward grip.
To try this stuff.
Yeah, you're poor Walker, Jake. That poor thing went through heck on that video. Man, oh man.
Got a forward grip now.
Well, it's just the loading lever. It just looks like now.
Hey, the loading lever has feelings too, okay?
It don't drop because it probably don't latch.
Can't drop if it's already down.
That's just an extra locking procedure for your cylinder. Make sure it locks up tight enough.
Right.
Yeah, that, and it's also a forward pistol grip. You could use it as a forward pistol grip.
Because, I mean, it's an open top revolver, so you need a little extra strength there.
There you go. See,
Yeah.
Colt was doing that way before Smith & Wesson had double and triple locks.
Yeah.
Colt thought of everything back then.
Yep.
We really don't want that cylinder turning, so that's just a cylinder. That's why.
And I mean,
why you only load 5.
Yep, that's why you only load 5.
That's why you only load 5.
You gotta have.
So you need the front pistol grip, and you need to lock that cylinder properly.
Oh my goodness!
I think I did that with one of my Dragoon videos. Because I always had people commenting, like, what's that front lever for? You know, people who've never been into it. So there for a little bit, I just dropped the front lever and was using it like a front pistol grip. I called it the detachable, droppable front pistol grip.
You will get 8 in. I seen a guy do that as a joke, and he got 8 in the comments section. That is going to burn your hand. You're going to get shrapnel. You're going to... I'm like, guys, it was a joke.
The space-time continuum.
If there's
my poor wife's the only person who always eats the lead every time.
YouTube is there's always at least one person that doesn't get it.
That is exactly true.
No matter how obvious the parody, no matter how blatant the joke or sarcasm, there's always one person that just doesn't get it.
Yep.
Garrett, remember the Chinese balloon video?
Oh. I did it. Jake actually filmed.
Jake did one too, didn't
you? Yeah. And we didn't even know we were doing it, but he went outside and shot. I just stood there and talked about it. And I had so many people like, do you realize the ballistics of a 36 caliber rifle would never reach the range you would need to take down this Chinese Bible?
See what I mean?
I'm sure you got a few of those too.
I bet one on a live once.
You probably got it's dangerous to shoot up in the air.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I did hit my target.
Oh, yeah?
Did you not see the balloon pop?
I saw the balloon pop. I did see the balloon pop. He did get it.
We had that on that exact same subject. We had one of their lives. It was a couple lives ago when they were asking like what's the very best cap block pistol to get, and I said the Dragoon just to be it's my always answer just because it's so ridiculous. Get a real original first model Dragoon. That's the best gun to get. Just make sure it's an original, because when you tie that much money up into something, no matter how bad it is, I promise you're going to say it's the greatest thing ever.
Carson said he thought Sam Colt developed the open top revolver cylinder so the drop tube could be easily incorporated into the reloading sequence.
Mm-hmm.
That was what it was.
There it is.
The drop tube of a Lightfoot Remington.
And the funny thing is, we all know, like, none of us are going to go to somebody like the Cap and Ball channel and be like, you shouldn't use a drop tube. We just think it's so funny that people swear by it so hard.
I don't know.
It's when they tell you have to.
Yeah.
I always think it's weird when I see somebody go out and shoot a muzzleloader and they basically have to bring their own caddy to carry their drop tube and their spare ramrod and they got all this stuff laying out there, and I'm like, you should be able to fit it in a bag and on the gun.
That's
how the infantry did it. They were dragging their little caddies behind them with all their drop tubes, and they were marching.
They brought cables with them everywhere. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they brought loading benches, and they loaded their smoothbore muskets with packed round ball.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that always gets me every time you'll see it, and I don't even click on them anymore. But you'll see a video. Things you need to start shooting muzzleloaders. And it'll be like, these people have more money in their loading setup than they have in the gun. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's all this. And then I personally find it harder to load from the bench than from the bag, just because I've been doing it for so long.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know where anything's at on the table, So
and the thing is, you technically don't need anything. You just need caps, powder, and a ball. Everything's there.
Or if you got
a lube, you don't technically need lube, but it does help if you want to shoot more than one or two cylinders, accurately.
That's why I like smoothbore muskets.
If you can't carry it all in one bag, I don't want to carry it. And the bag's got to be small. The smaller the bag, the better.
Yeah.
That's why I like smoothbore muskets. I like paper cartridges. Paper cartridges are handy.
Doc, it must have been that drop tube incorporation that got Colt promoted to colonel from major. We keep on picking on that.
That was also the progressive rifling. He was experimenting on how
If
rock
you were
tubing.
to release that video tonight, people would get it.
Yeah, at least people would get it tonight. I have a
think
feeling when we do release that, people are going to go, what?
we ought to play it. I ought to send it to you.
Thanks, Samuel Colt graduated from the School of Hogwarts, School of Black Powder, Witchcraft, and Wizardry.
Oh, I forgot about that one. Yeah, somebody said that Jake needed to get a degree in black. What was that whole deal? Do you remember that?
No, that was me.
Oh,
Yeah.
Because I wasn't certified to say that the Indian muskets were safe to shoot after the 1,200 grains because I wasn't a certified gunsmith.
Because you're not a gunsmith, right?
I said, where? I was like, what? I don't even know if there is like a black powder school of Hogwarts, Witchcraft, and Wizardry for black powder. And I was like, I seriously can't think of a specific black powder gunsmithing school that I'm supposed to get certified
one thing
from.
That shocks me in today's age is if you don't have a certificate saying that you're something, everybody thinks you have. You obviously aren't smart enough to know how something works.
Well, that's like I go to the muzzleloading forum.
The people that invented that stuff had no idea how it worked. They just did it and then wrote down what happened, and that's all that is you're getting that information from people. It helps
every now and then.
You don't have to have it.
Every now and then I go over to the muzzleloading forum to see what they're saying about me and Garrett every now and then because they really love us over there.
Oh,
but
I made that mistake a few months ago. Holy cow!
Because I told you that we had been mentioned in that, and you were like, "Oh, let me check this out." And then Jake goes, "Maybe I should type my name in," and I was like, "Please don't." And I think you had like 50 threads.
Wow.
They were not happy.
No, they weren't. Holy cow.
But I've heard all sorts of wild things on there. Like I heard, well, for one thing, somebody had asked you could build rifle shop lock out of castings. And of course, some guy got on there and started hollering about don't ever try it. First of all, cast springs are going to break within the first 3 or 4 tries, which that's fake. That's false. And then another guy was like, well, you got to have a CNC machine and a lathe to do it. And I was like, what are you going to use a CNC machine and lathe for?
Well, don't you know that Colt had his computer out the whole time using his, writing CAD? That's the only way we could make stuff back then was CAD and CAM. And
in the 16th century, those German gunsmiths were pulling out their CNC machines to build their wheel locks.
They had the early prototype Bridgeport milling machines back then. That's how they did it.
Johann Gutenberg invented the CNC machine for the wheel lock. So anyhow, I heard that one, and then the other one I looked the other day because I thought about staying in that walnut stock with Aquafortis, and somebody had asked on there, and somebody got on there, don't do that. You put Aquafortis on walnut, it's going to look like you painted your stock black. And everybody started chiming in, yep, it'll look just like you painted your stock black. Well, I was stubborn and I tried it anyways, and it actually is identical to my original stock on that AN9, and I think it looks pretty nice. Oh, here it is.
In the beginning, there were.
Oh, I'm sorry. I won't do that right
now. The only thing that's hard about this is hard to hear you, Garrett, because you changed your voice because you was scared he was going to get in trouble.
Not me. You want to write?
Somebody similar to Garrett.
You want to play this?
I saw Ethan from I Love Muzzleloading use Aquafortis on a pistol he was doing, and it was a walnut stock or something. And it turned out great.
It looks beautiful.
Yeah.
But there was so many guys on there, they said it'll look like you painted your stock black. And now granted, whenever I tried it, I got a little worried whenever I first put it on there because it did turn that stock jet black. And it looked like charcoal. I was like, oh, boy. And so I was like, well, it's too late now. And I went and I slathered the rest of it up there with Aquafortis, waited an hour, and then hit it with the heat. And it just blushed out and turned into a really beautiful dark red.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've heard he went to go get something. I've heard so many things on the muzzleloading forum that I'm like, where are you guys getting your information at? I'm convinced it's the same old guys that are probably shooting their Traditions Flintlock rifle. The same one never mind. I was just like, wow.
Well, I mean, it's the same kind of people who love to tell you exactly how something works, but they've never seen it, touched it, or owned it.
Yes.
And you have one, and you're just like, what are you talking about?
They looked it up on
so many times that happened.
Yeah, they looked it up on Wikipedia. Yeah. There was one guy on there. There was a whole thread about that Indian-made musket I blew up. And one guy got on there. He's like, 1,200 grains. He's like, I use that for bird hunting.
I saw that.
I was like, what?
Was he using
the
a
other guy
punt
said,
gun?
well, there was what? Yeah, punt
Was
gun.
he using a punt gun?
Not even a punt gun would take 1,200 grains.
Yeah, I don't think
like
so either. That'd be insane.
Like the wall gun only takes 475.
Napoleonic cannon?
No, the wall gun.
No, yeah.
Yeah, it's only 475 grains. But then another guy was like, there was a test done back in the day where somebody took a toilet paper tube and wrapped it in duct tape and put 1,200 grains of powder in it and didn't blow it up. And I was like, I went and looked. I never did find any evidence of any test like that ever taking place.
That is ridiculous.
It's pretty entertaining to go over there now and then.
Yeah,
I haven't been on there. Actually, should go over there. It'd be kind of funny. Hear what they say about all of us.
You better be in the right frame of mind if you're going to look for that kind of stuff, man.
I'm sure.
Because, man, I remember looking at that after you guys blew up that Indian gun. And I remember going over there and looking at that stuff and just not taking it so well.
No, they were a little upset.
No, that just...
Well...
And it's ridiculous, too, because people say, oh, they're unsafe. You know, you shouldn't use them. And then it's like, well, here, look what I did. And they're like, well, see?
Well, see, look how unsafe it was. It blew up still.
I'm pretty convinced that it's a group of guys who probably spent $2,000 on some sort of Pedrazoli or something like that. And then they see there's a cheaper version and they're trying to justify their purchase.
Yeah.
Exactly why you buy a first-generation Dragoon, an original, when you buy your very first gun. Same exact reason. Because you will always in your mind justify that it's the greatest thing ever.
Get your original AN9.
Remington pistol a couple weeks ago or a month ago, whatever it was. We got it on film. You know, my brother and I filmed it, and it looked so unimpressive. It just goes pop, and I didn't even know it came apart at first. I went to cock it, and it was all jammed up, and it's like, oh, I destroyed it. That's what happened. And we discussed it. It was like, you know, hey, you know, do you want to put this up there? You know, I mean, we were trying to see how much it would take before it came apart. And it's like, and after we thought about it and we discussed it, we finally were like, you know, I think we'll just keep this one for ourselves. Because
that's why I said just hang it up in the background and don't say anything.
Right.
Yep.
And that's what we ended up doing. It's
you know what's crazy? It sounds it could just be me going through the comments, but it seems like everybody who sees it's like, oh, there's a Remington. They don't realize that it's blown up.
Sorry, Snapper, I was away for a minute, but I could have sworn I heard you volunteer to load 1,200 grains in your first model Dragoon because that's the gun you should test to blow up, right?
Yes. It's like, you better give me some life insurance because if the wife sounds like I blew that or I ever blew that thing up in any way, shape, or form, I'm going to need some life insurance, boys, or a couch to sleep on.
A couch is probably cheaper.
Well, I'd had one guy tell me, he's like, you know what? That Indian-made musket video was pretty cool. You got an original AN9 musket, don't you? An original French musket. Why don't you try it with that one? I was like,
yeah.
No, I'm not going to try it with a gun that's been sitting around for 200 years just to get into my hands so I can destroy it.
Right.
I like the comment on there, well, you proved it with one, but you'll need to prove it with at least 5.
With 100.
And I wrote back to that guy, I said, we proof tested over 20 of them.
Yep.
Well, a general rule would be 100.
So we need to go buy 100 of these guns. And
they're going to say you need at least 1,000.
Yep.
Right.
I'm not saying that they won't blow up. I'm just saying that it's hard to do.
I'm saying that I've never had one bulge, and I don't load them light.
I've had Spanish barrels bulge. Never had an Indian barrel bulge.
You know, it's really
They're
it's simple and easy to tell you exactly how much pressure that gun. It's called math. Math is this beautiful thing that they've made a long time ago. There were magical people in a magical time who made math, and it will tell you exactly how much a steel or an iron or a plastic or wood will take under pressure. And I guarantee you could find the math on how much it takes to blow up an Indian-made musket.
Well, I mean,
probably going to be around that 1,200 grains.
It
And 3
stamped
round
right
balls.
on the bottom what kind of
And 3
steel
round
it
balls.
is, but that's a lie, according to the internet.
Oh yeah.
According to comments.
Yeah,
Well, it's actually not hard to test steel either. It's quite simple. You can test high grade, low grade.
Get this
Just by
one,
grinding a
Snapper.
little bit of it.
The reason India muskets are more fragile is because they're made out of steel, because iron
Yes.
would flex and give, whereas steel is so hard it will blow up that gun. The steel's so much better than Italian replicas, that's what makes them more dangerous.
Jesus,
Yep.
do they really say that?
Yes,
They really said that.
say that.
because the carbon and I had one guy said it's a carbon steel because it's medium carbon steel. He's like, it's a carbon steel. It should be iron because iron has more give and can
These
flex
guys
and
know what
return
steel
back.
does.
Yeah, no,
Like
they
iron
don't.
does not flex. Like wrought iron can flex, right? But it's not going to
Yep.
return. It's going to bend.
Yep.
Steel, where you actually see a sword go and then go
Yep.
back, that's freaking steel, like spring steel, which is a very low amount of carbon added in at a certain amount, like a certain amount of carbon and a little bit of nickel
Carbon
added.
makes it hard and brittle.
Yeah,
Oh,
carbon
God.
makes it hard and brittle.
Like
It won't
the only
flex.
thing that steel is carbon, or it's iron, where they removed all the carbon, they added a tiny little bit of nickel, and then they added back a tiny bit of carbon at a controlled amount, or other kinds of metals. They're different kinds of steels. Stainless has got more nickel in it with chromium and a bunch of other stuff. But all they do is it's iron. It's just a modified iron. That's all steel is iron. But they modified it, and once you put it a certain length, the little crystals inside grow long, so they stay together. So it goes whoop, and it'll bend back. When there's that little tiny crystals, it'll just break.
Now, Snapper,
And
you haven't.
all of
you
that is
haven't
by
been
the amount of carbon
educated.
that's in the steel.
You have not
Well-
got a degree from the muzzleloading forum. You don't know what you're
That's
talking
true.
about.
You had not gone to Hogwarts School of Black Powder Witchcraft and Wizardry.
I know. The stupid colleges I went to, they didn't have those certificates.
There was another one that was a guy was talking about if you shoot, and that was in the video where the guy blew up his Indian-made musket at a reenactment by shooting just powder, no wadding, no projectile, just powder down the barrel. And it's funny because if you look at the picture, he's got this much mud packed into the end of that barrel.
Yep.
And
He just made a pipe bomb out of it. That's all he did.
Yep. But somebody got on that comment section and they were like, well, the way Indian made guns or barrels are made, it was something about they don't have a seam in them. And so if you shoot one that is dirty and you shoot a blank cartridge out of it, the harmonics will cause the barrel to give because of
Where do
the
these people
fouling.
come up with this crap?
I don't know.
Maybe they actually went to the Hogwarts School of Black Powder Witch.
Oh, I forget.
Maybe that's why we're upside down on all this.
Probably.
We're not part of the magical understanding of the magical world on why
Well,
things
I'm not.
happen the
Maybe
way
you
they do.
guys are, but
Now,
I'm definitely not, because that makes no sense to me whatsoever.
harmonics? What?
The harmonics will cause the
They
barrel to
went,
explode.
You know, Professor, what is it? Professor R. Voldemort Wilson.
He who must not be named.
Yeah,
He must not be
shall not
named.
be
exactly. You know what's funny? Since I quit doing the Colt series, it's been so nice. Every now and then somebody will say something, and I'll be like, "That guy that did all that, I don't even remember who he is, or I don't remember his name." Or, oh well, I haven't stressed over it for quite a while, actually. Oh.
Oh man.
Well, now I got to think of who it is for the trapdoor video. Oh, wait a second. I know who it is for the trapdoor video.
We know who it is for the trapdoor. We're not going to go there because he was polite. No, he's not.
With a K.
Jake gets
I
turned
was all
off.
ready for a fight. As soon as I saw that, I thought, well, okay, here we go. But
Here we go.
I
don't think he
surprised.
understood.
You could tell he didn't watch the whole video.
That's
Yeah.
fine with me. That's fine with me.
Carson said they read the book of the Holy Hand Grenade.
The holy head.
The holy hand grenade.
It never fails. Every time I go to a live fire range with hand grenades, somebody has got to quote that line every single time.
I don't know. Every single time I've ever seen somebody with a hand grenade, when they make them hold you to your chest like this, they make you walk with them. I was like, man, I don't trust any of the people around me. I'm gonna hear a boom real soon, and I'm gonna die.
I remember in basic training, we had a kid who was he was not all there. You know how it is, especially in infantry
Every
basic
single
training.
person who's ever gone to basic training had at least one person in the basic training class who had a person there that was not all there.
Yep, I was sitting there. I'd already ran the course, throwing the grenades, went back up on the hill, standing in the rain at Fort Benning, waiting for everybody else to come down. But you could still see down there. I watched the pit NCO take this guy, and he goes to throw back, goes back to his stance, and I watched the pit NCO take his hand, do the whole breaking over the barrier, and take him to the ground. And he gets smoked, and he comes back up the hill, and I'm like, hey, Swagger, what happened there? Well, I was standing there, and my hand got tired, and so I released some tension on it, and I heard a pop. I was like, oh. I'm like, it's like 2 pounds, dude.
We had a kid named Amateur. He would talk to himself at night, and he'd always answer himself in a different voice too. It was so weird.
Whoa.
And he was also one of those people who would use the bathroom in his bed a lot. So it was fun, enjoyable, enjoyable. And they passed him, believe it or not. They passed him. He actually went to a real unit.
They didn't want to do that again. They didn't want to go there again.
They didn't want to recycle him.
They didn't want to recycle him again.
I never thought of that in the military, but maybe that is an option. Just be
that is 100.
Well, yeah, because apparently they have to recycle you so many times before they'll actually give you a discharge for like a failure to adapt. I think it's like 3 times.
I knew one kid who he swung on a drill sergeant, and he was not a very big guy at all.
I could never imagine that even happening.
He was a little scrawny little guy, big BCGs. And he thought he was going to take on this drill sergeant. Drill sergeant never was really quiet. Drill sergeant. Come to find out, when we did graduation day, he come out with his beret and it was green, and we're like, that makes sense. But he comes out there and this kid swings on him, and he takes him to the ground. And I see that drill sergeant go ballistic, and he said, "I'm going to make sure you make it all the way to graduation day, and then I'm going to recycle you. And the unit you get recycled to, I'm going to make sure you tell them." You're going to make it all the way to graduation day, and then you're going to get recycled again. We're going to do that as many times as we possibly can, and then we'll fail you out.
Oh. Well, you know what? If I had the option to go through basic training again, honestly, I think I would. I had so much fun. It sucked. Don't get me wrong, but I had so much fun, and I could stand to lose the weight.
You
had it fun.
What they were doing, and you just
you know what? It was actually not hard in any way, shape, or form. Everything's common sense. Like it really is. It's just common sense.
In the gravel pit like Ethan. I don't think Ethan.
All the time. We'd get smoked for anything. Like you would get. I swear to God, they would hide stuff. Like there was a person. What they would do is we had like a big building, and we have a platoon in each one of the little areas. So it was like 4 platoons in a building, and every single week a different platoon would end up back in red phase. Which if you get in trouble, they'd put you back to the very first week where they just smoke the crap out of you all the time.
Purple phase.
And I'm telling you, they did this stuff on purpose because we had people who didn't smoke, and then somehow their smoke's found, and he's like, dude, I don't even smoke. And this guy doesn't smoke because he's like a hardcore Christian dude who won't drink, who won't smoke, who won't even swear. And you're like, yeah, we 100% know that was not his. And I mean, but you do have people doing legitimately stupid things like me, breaking into the rooms and getting your cell phones and stuff back in the day. But
you were that guy.
Oh yeah. Oh man, but I was willing to do stupid stuff, but not really stupid stuff. But the thing is, they always pick on the people that nobody's going to be like, yeah, we know for a fact that this guy didn't do it, so he doesn't get beat up. Like, how dare you have this here because you're going to get us all screwed over? They would always mess with a person that you're like, for a fact it's fake. And they did that. Yeah. You just don't, as long as you don't take anything serious, don't take anything serious. It's just a game. Play the game, enjoy the game, learn the game, and learn how to get around the game. And then you'll have a great time in the military. It's not hard. But I'm telling you, it was fun. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun.
I made a
crazy, stupid stuff.
I made it a point. I was going to go all the way through basic training without the drill sergeants knowing who I was. I made it halfway before the first sergeant took my name tape.
No, that sucks.
It wasn't fun after that. Mm-mm.
I never got in trouble for anything, actually, if I remember right.
Yeah, it was not. It was
I
not fun
almost got
after
in trouble
that.
once, and
So how much black
it was
powder did we consume in the military in you guys' time period?
Actually,
All
more than
of
you
it.
think.
all of it.
So I'm pretty sure
But
they
I'm
use.
sure we'll get on to conversations that people actually care about, Ethan.
Yeah, being snapper times.
It was good times, though. I recommend it for everyone, at least one. Jake, just messing with you, man.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't
At
do
least
it.
go the Air Force. Go the Air Force route.
I'm too old for all that stuff. Are you guys talking about me?
I was about to say, I'm pretty sure Jake and I both are,
I'm just talking to people in general.
I'm just messing around.
He's too old and I'm too fat.
I'm too old and too fat, so.
Poor Ethan still
Well, I'm still in. Somehow, miraculously.
By the way, you
I
look
might
a
be
lot
fat,
like
but
your
I can
dad.
still
Holy
run.
cow. Looking at your dad, and then I saw like a photo of your dad when he put up one of his things. You look identical to your dad.
Who?
Oh,
When he
who,
was
me?
your age. Yeah, Ethan.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like a spitting image of your dad.
I was about to say, not me, because when my dad was my age, he was about 150 pounds.
And no beard.
Yeah. Mom always said she'd whoop the first boy that grew a beard. Well, there I was at 14 years old.
Poor Garrett getting whooped every single day and night.
I just went to work.
I remember that, too. Where'd Garrett go? He's hauling hay bales. What?
Well, they wouldn't let me grow a beard at home, so I just left.
Well, Jake, if you had to say anything about the whole black powder crap that goes on in your comment section, what would be your number one advice and or criticism?
Advice?
Advice.
You're going to advise these commenters to quit commenting such stupid stuff. That's what he's going to
Think about what you type before you type it.
That's the only thing I could think of is what Garrett just said right there.
Yes.
Like, I don't know. Maybe.
Well, if you like the video, make sure you like and subscribe. If you don't like the video,
I like the
go
guys.
make your own damn video.
I like the guys that said if you don't like this video and you really don't like it, click that thumbs down button twice.
Good idea.
That's a good idea. And make sure you leave a comment on how much you hate it.
yes. Actually, leave several.
It took me a while.
Yeah, make sure you let everyone know.
It took me a while to figure that one out. I didn't know that it would do that.
I really think that is it right now, and especially with the way the gun channel world is. I think that is probably the best way to get real traction is make sure people leave hate comments. Because a comment, YouTube sees a comment as a comment.
Not to make anybody that might like him hate me or anything, but why do you think the Yankee Marshal still exists? There is such a thing as channels that grow through trolldom.
Mm-hmm.
I'd hate to be one, but that's how they do it.
Yeah.
I think I did that one time on a YouTube short.
I can think of one guy right now who's literally trying to build a channel just trolling Jake.
Yeah, me too.
You don't know who that is? Not one of the fault.
Oh, it's super simple.
He's got about 2,000 subs, and every time he mentions,
and he's like, "Why would you make it out of toilet paper? I will make it out of something stupid too."
Oh, I like this. I don't care if I get 400 feet per second spread; it's still going to hit the target. And I said, "At what range?" That's going to be awful. That's going to be very difficult at a 300-yard on the prairie target, ain't it, Ethan? 400. But did he say 200 or 400 foot spread? I don't remember.
Does it matter? I don't know.
Does it matter?
That's gonna be about like the time I was trying to make a shot, probably 300 yards with a 303 Landfield, and this was in my teenage years. And I was shooting it. In one round, I shoot it, and I noticed the round drop was about 150 feet short. And I racked that casing. It's a 30-40 Krag casing. I was like, "Oh!" but it chambered, it fired,
Went off
and
and
it
chambered and
ejected.
everything.
Yep.
Wow,
Yep.
interesting.
But I was like,
Jake ought to know he's making these videos about shooting the wrong ammo and the wrong gun.
Well, from experience, you can shoot 30-40 crack through a 303. Wouldn't suggest it, but you can.
Okay.
I was actually
Just aim high.
impressed. I was impressed those 45-70s.
Yeah, me too.
Gun.
Yeah.
I can't say.
And even those are lethal speeds too. I mean, that was lethal. 100% lethal.
800 feet per second.
Yeah.
Probably lethal to everybody except for who you're aiming it at, but
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
the
true.
guy next to him.
Feel like after 50 yards, that'd be a little, yeah.
Well, how far did you take it?
35.
Oh, 35.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure those were tumbling. They had to be tumbling.
I'm sure they were, and people were like, "Oh, you should have shot paper." It's like I'd be surprised if it even touched the bore at any point. But it's like,
Guys,
shoot
it's
paper,
hard to
shoot
get.
paper. What? I'd be lucky to hit the paper or the cardboard, I reckon. But
I'm gonna let you all in on a little secret out there. Jake thinks shooting paper is boring, and he's not gonna do it unless there's absolutely a need.
Mhm.
I remember I made that video, and every time I make a video where I'm about to shoot paper, I always think I better put the disclaimer in here. Sorry, Jake, this is going to be boring, but we're going to shoot.
Well, no.
forward.
If it's comparable with Swiss, it gets paper now. It gets the paper.
We said Go X. If it's comparable to
Go X.
put it on paper.
Oh, so now you're going to make some more cottonwood powder and put it on paper for us?
Yes. It's milling right
Speaking
now.
of
It's actually, we're going to mill it for 48 hours and see how it does.
Oh, really? That'd be
Yeah.
interesting.
Oh, that would be amazing if that stuff picked up like at
That's
least 100 feet more per second would be amazing.
I would love to find out an actual, because we've read on the cottonwood stuff, the Confederate military thing, the ratios and everything, but none of these writings ever mention how long they mill it.
Right.
So that would be very interesting to find out. We know that
That's actually a really good question.
we found references to what they call it, a 5-ton scroll press.
Roller press.
Press. So we know that a lot of it, at least a lot of British stuff, was 5-ton pressed. So you got that. But
I think the British later on, they actually had heavier. I think they went clear up to 20-ton. But they were using an actual.
Did they ever give a PSI, like chamber pressure for that? Or I don't think they did feet per second back then. Could they?
Yeah.
I actually have all that information in my book. I kind of took it and wrote it down in my notes. And my book.
They had FPS by the 1860s for sure. Because
they did.
Jake and I are trying to figure out how they got so close to 1,400 feet per second with a 50-70 using rifle, non-musket powder.
It's got to be really fine, like 4F. It's the only thing I can think of. I mean, if they had the bitchinest powder you can imagine,
it was
even
crazy.
with 3F, that'd be hard to get, I think.
Mm-hmm. But they said rifle powder or musket powder 50-70 was 1240 musket powder was 1240. Rifle powder was just shy of 1,400.
Yeah, it's 13 and change, I think.
Yeah,
wasn't it 1370 or something like that?
Yeah, it was not very far off of. It was like comparable within shot to shot of 1,400.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that might have been the round that lamed the shoulder for 2 weeks. I don't know if it could, but it has to be more than what we're getting at 1,200 because that is not very.
I need to get a trapdoor in 50-70 so bad. As a matter of fact, I think I need to. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to get that one from you, Garrett.
Yeah, I already got her boxed up with your address on it, Jake. Not Jake.
Jake, you have to
call. Oh.
I just got to hide it because somebody went out and spent way too much money recently. I might be getting another new motorcycle soon. I don't know. Somebody went out and bought a Ducati.
Oh, boy.
Ducati.
I thought you were going to say you're going to get a new an original Colt Walker there.
I need to get back into guns. I've been blowing on motorcycles and stuff.
If you're going to go foreign, get one of them Triumphs.
No, I don't like the British stuff. I love the Italian stuff because I know it's not going to run, so I'm not going to get that much miles on it. It's going to look really, really pretty sitting there.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I got the 1098.
The guy that
Ducati
has all the
1098.
original Colts is buying foreign-made motorcycles.
You know, yeah, unfortunately. I'm not, I'm into the sporty bikes, the little fasty, stupidity crotch rockets. And
City boy,
yeah.
in you.
Mm.
I
It's
can't
city
say
boy.
anything.
Yeah, you know what it is? That is the
I
city
own a
boy in
Honda
me.
Shadow. I can't say anything.
It rubbed off, the Italian stuff rubbed off on me in the cars and in the motorcycles. I do love my Italian cars.
I've been to Snapper's Town one time for about 2 hours. I just sit in the airport and looked
I
at
don't
it.
recommend it. Poor Jake, he was only here for like a couple hours before he was ruined for life. I'm sure.
Benji over here commented and said, I've only mentioned Jake one time in any of my videos. That was on a short where I was using a drop tube.
Well, I think I even mentioned Jake in the that one about that Indian-made musket that blew up because of the blank that blew it up. It's like, yeah, there's a guy on YouTube that said, it's usually going to choose the path of least resistance. And if there's nothing but air in front of that powder, it's probably going to go that way.
Desert
Indeed.
I think I was quoting. Yeah, I was quoting that video about the air gap in the between the ball and the powder.
Yeah,
Gonna blow your gun up.
Now don't start a fight here, boys. Don't start a fight.
I agree. By landing sea, nobody wants to see me on a Vespa going down the highway. You don't even want to see me on a Ducati going down the highway. It's terrifying.
Oh, like Desert Rat said, to get that speed in the 5070, they must have milled it for 4 days.
4 years.
more longer. Yeah.
I honestly wonder where the point is, because it has to reach a point where it can't incorporate anymore. But it's obviously, I can tell you from experience, 12 hours, after 12 hours, it gets better. I had the same thing you did, people commenting on my videos, you only need 4 hours of milling, or you're doing something wrong. And it's like, I've tried that. I can't even get it to light, fast, and open air in 4 hours of milling.
I think 8 hours is way too short. Like, that's the bare minimum if I'm in a hurry, is at least 8 hours. I still think that has been way too short.
I'm actually
That's a long.
I'm actually kind of
easier just to remember.
I'm kind of curious to see what the difference between 24 hours and 3 days is going to be on this French powder. I'll keep them separate. We'll do a little testing.
Yeah.
With this
I do want to see that
granule
cottonwood stuff. See how strong you can get it.
French limewood, cottonwood, French limewood cannon powder beats Swiss 3F. You're gonna.
that would. Yeah. I would change. You'd have to rewrite a few history books because everybody says the same thing. This stuff was not good.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet they're correct.
What was it?
They just didn't mill their powder long enough. It's that simple.
The last invasion of Great Britain. The last invasion of Great Britain happened, I think it was, 1796, when the French revolutionaries invaded a small fishing village, and they were using brown powder that was made with straw charcoal. And it was so bad they couldn't get the guns to go off, and they basically got beat off with frying pans and fish nets.
Sounds like a good Saturday to me.
Yep. Last official invasion of Great Britain.
Was that the powder you had so much trouble getting to ignite, Jake? The straw powder?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
you said that stuff was garbage, wasn't it?
What was that?
The straw powder is garbage.
Yeah, but we made 2 batches, and this was the reason why we wanted to do this experiment. Was we did one batch that was 24 hours, and it was terrible. It was dirty. It only went off once, and then the touch hole was clogged up. It was super slow. And I had another batch that we milled for 48 hours, and it picked up 100 feet per second, and it was actually usable. And so that was the first time when we're like, 24 hours seems to do pretty well with most things, but, with this stuff was complete junk, and it turned it into at least it was usable.
I saw somebody commented about,
and all the other people saying, you don't need to mill it that long. We just figured we'd give it a try and see what happens. So
somebody had mentioned something about.
They say you don't mill it that long.
Who?
Oh, is that what I can try to understand? You said somebody's accusing you of not milling it as long as you say you do.
No, they say we're milling it too long. We don't need to mill it that long.
And it's going bad because you're milling it too long.
Yeah, it's just you don't gain anything. It won't do any good.
Yeah.
You should have proved that wrong. I mean,
Sort
there's
of proved
no
that wrong.
argument.
I think so. But
I don't see any argument left in saying that. I don't see anybody with any place to stand on an argument saying that it's not worth milling it a little bit longer. Because it always seems the longer you mill it, the better the powder. I'm sure there is going to be a point in which, the returns are negligible and not good.
That was only one instance. You'd have to try it at least 3 million times to make sure.
I
That,
you got to do it a couple
actual
thousand
test.
times.
Yes.
What were you saying? Somebody commented, Ethan?
Somebody commented something about silica in the hay or something, hardening it up.
Yeah, I heard that. But it sure when you milled it for another 24 hours, it sure seemed to tune it up. I mean, it didn't make it great, but at least it made it functional.
Carson said it has to be milled for 25 3/4 hours, removed from the tumbler, screened, reinduced into the tumbler through no less than a 20-foot drop tube, then recommence milling for 5 more minutes.
5 more minutes only.
Yes, only.
Any longer than that, you've ruined it.
See, if we sift it through the drop tube, imagine how much better it'll be.
Make sure the drop tube is lubricated with Crisco as well. That's also a big thing.
Rifling.
A matter of fact, yeah, when you add your water in before you corn your powder, make sure you're just adding Crisco in. Works 100 times better.
Actually,
they use Crisco instead of water.
I wonder how that would work to introduce a fat instead of a water as the sticking agent.
Yeah.
Fat isn't going to evaporate too well.
Well, it doesn't. Even the water doesn't evaporate completely. Have you ever tried shooting?
No.
Well, I know you probably have, Ethan. But if you ever tried shooting powder that is completely dry,
and you get that little bit of liquid there at the touch hole.
No, it's not only that. It makes a fouling that's a very strange.
Way
fouling.
Worse.
You need some moisture, don't you, Jake? I mean, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, we tried that some time ago. We vacuum dried some powder with desiccant, and it was 100% dry, man. And it lost a little bit of velocity, like 100 feet or something. And when I went to load it, I could hardly get the ball down. The fouling was like it was like dirt, like dried, crunchy dirt. Like
Exactly.
black powder fouling's a little slimy, sometimes almost greasy feeling. This was like dirt.
Yeah.
And
that's what I found.
Yeah, and so the powder has to have some level of moisture.
Yeah.
I don't know how to check it. I don't know how much. We just pretty much go with whatever the ambient is. But
how dare you
make a video where you don't give us the exact. Tell you.
How dare you make a video where you don't give us the exact amount of moisture that powder needs to be when it comes out of those pucks? How dare you say a few drops? That doesn't tell us anything.
Yeah, how unscientific, right?
You should try is getting a cheap little small humidor and putting it inside and see what the moisture level goes to.
Do they sell something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For cigars, you would stick in these little packets that you would put water on where it would actually increase the humidity. But if you put something that's already wet inside of it or has moisture inside of it, it will actually read the humidity. So you should be able to read your humidity level by just sticking it in there.
There's also a variant you can get for testing firewood moisture content level.
Yeah, they have this in the woods too. It's like a little electric thing you stick in the wood to see the moisture content in wood.
Really? What do they call these things?
We call it moisture probe.
I don't know what those.
Balers.
Moisture probe, huh?
Yeah, you moisture probe their hay a lot of people do moisture probe their hay before they bale it. Find out what their moisture content is because that'll change your weight.
Got it.
I am curious though, if you did remove all the water and added in a fat as like you said, Garrett. I wonder what that would be like.
If you make it 0 water and still compress it, it's hard to compress to start with, but I tried it.
Yeah.
But if you do get some of it compressed, because obviously there's a little moisture of some kind in there, but when you try to shoot it, my Kibler will run on my regular powder 50 shots. I mean, just.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, it doesn't. Powder's garbage when it's that dry.
You do it with 0 moisture in the powder, you get 3 and you're done unless you're adding moisture and wiping.
Well, what I'm saying is adding the moisture back, as in say some kind of a fat. like a cooking
It'd be hard to
Crisco.
incorporate, I guess.
I think it'd be hard to incorporate. You'd have to pull all the moisture out of it and then try to mix in a little bit of a lubricant like Crisco or like any kind of an animal fat, like lamb's tallow or whatnot.
Wouldn't you have
Try to add it and get back to that.
Bacon grease.
Yeah, I think you probably have to mill it into it. But I wonder if that would actually, it probably wouldn't be worth the time because that sounds like a pain in the butt.
Well, the reason I was thinking about it was just because we were talking earlier about that new powder somebody was asking us about.
It makes its own lubricant.
That's what I was wondering. Do they put a fat in it? Do they add the lubricant to it?
Yeah.
Well, here's a question, and I'm pretty sure I've already talked about it before, but what is the red wax that comes out of the touch hole? You ever seen
Sulfur.
that? It's just sulfur?
Sulfur.
Swiss always seems to do that quite a bit.
I got a question. You guys ever watch the old movies where they like Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier, where they take a shot and the flame lingers in the pan for like 3 seconds?
Hollywood powder.
Like, how could you do that?
I've also heard that I looked at
They might have been using a smokeless powder, honest to God, if you think about it. Because how slow smokeless burns.
Right.
One guy.
In that Davy Crockett, the River Pirates one, where they're in the cave, you know, and they light that trail of powder.
And they walk with it?
That's Hollywood powder. You know, it's
That's gotta be
not black powder. It's either smokeless powder or some other concoction with how slow that stuff burns.
I wonder what
the only thing I know smokeless burns are really slow.
Well, it would have been a really short. It'd have been a really short movie if they'd used real black powder and they touch it off.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, he's walking. I've thought about that myself too. It's like he's literally walking along this to see where the powder keg is in the wall, and you're like, oh, you might want to go the other way.
That would be one fast line in real life with real black powder.
I looked that up one time, and some guy had said something about the some sort of lubricant or something they were putting on them was flammable. But that was just something I read on the internet.
For the
and you know how that can be.
I thought
they had lubricated the lock mechanism because like that rifle that Fess Parker uses, that's a real Flintlock rifle. And somebody had said that they had put some sort of lubricant or something on there. It was flammable, and it caught fire.
I was such a big fan of that show when I was little that when I got old enough, I thought I'm going to try this. So I took a whole pound of Pyrodex, poured it out on the.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I was like, "Watch this!" And I lit it, and it was so hot and so fast it burned my eyebrows off.
Well, I also remember that you were
Pyrodex right on the road.
I remember Garrett would sit there with a match, and this is when we found out Pyrodex is kind of hard to light because he'd light it and he'd throw it on there, nothing had happened. Light it, throw it on there, nothing had happened. So finally, Garrett just lights it and then just gets right over the top of it and shoves that match in there.
I was like 15, I seen it in the movie. I thought this
got a whole bunch of little holes burnt in your face from that.
You know what's awesome about all that is it shows that you grew up in a completely different world than people today actually do grow up in. Because today, there's no way you would find a 15-year-old doing that. They would be dead or the parents would be in jail.
Talk about the time Garrett thought
he
killed me.
The good old days, man. Back when you could actually have fun.
Well, I thought this was going to be a 3-minute fuse, and it was more like 0.3 of a second.
Ducks are people too. Ducks are not people. They're too delicious to be people.
Well, one time we were sitting out there, one of the girls that's staying at the house cooked up some bread rolls, and they were terrible. They were like rocks. We called them baby cannonballs because she burned them too, so they're black. And they're dumping them all out. She made like 100 of these things. They're dumping them all out. Well, we're out there having a roll fight. And Garrett's up in the top of a 2-story barn, and I'm at the bottom, and I roll this little lawnmower trailer over like I'd seen him do on Bonanza or Gunsmoke.
Lawnmower trailer. This was
It was homemade.
Trailer. It was a
well, I got it.
It weighed probably close to 1,000 pounds.
I got it over. I got it rolled over, and I think it was either Gunsmoke or Bonanza. I'd seen somebody do it, and I rolled over the wagon, and I was throwing these. Well, I ran out of rolls, and I saw that girl dump some more out behind the barn, so I walked over there. And I come back and I was hiding under the basement of the barn and I see Garrett is still up there in the top just throwing these rolls at this thing. and nothing's happening. Garrett gets.
I got this bright idea to take a 3 foot by 3 foot chunk of oak log and throw it at that trailer. I thought this will wake him up. That'll be a big boom.
That trailer rolled like 4 times.
It knocked it over. I thought I'd kill him dead.
I heard him holler, Ethan, are you okay? And I sit down there. I was like, I should answer back and say that I'm okay, but it's really funny just to see how long it's going to take him before he comes down here to see if I'm all right.
Now that's a brother right there. Where he's all worried and you're like, oh, it'd be funnier if I just don't say anything for a while.
Yep, that's exactly what happened too.
Well, I thought it would just hit that because I was a fairly stout kid, and I had this huge thing. It's probably 100+ pound log. I hit that thing over my head, and I thought it's going to make a big old boom when it hits that trailer. It did. It knocked that trailer clear back over the way it was.
I was just sitting right under him. I was like, well, that was unexpected.
Oh,
that's crazy.
Revere 311's in Ethan. He said, hopefully he didn't miss Ethan's talk on remaking of original French powder.
I didn't talk too much about it. I talked about it a little bit. But yeah, I got it sitting here.
It's 45. He almost lost his eyebrows doing the same thing, Garrett.
I did lose mine because I had no clue it would work that fast. I had no clue powder could burn that fast. I hadn't watched
my arm hair off testing this stuff
in 2005.
I burned off my eyebrows with a potato cannon that we had, and it was pretty bitchin'. I mean, we had the best potato cannon around.
I can just somebody as a kid, I want building my potato cannon. It's everything black powder. I want that channel building the potato cannon we are going to use. I want to know feet per second. I want to know how clean that potato goes through that barrel. I want to know how many.
He's out there trying different hairsprays and different colors to light off his potato cannon.
The pink Aquanet worked the best.
he literally tried different fuel sources.
It had so it had the end of it had like a big 4-inch chamber with a cap on it, and we had a barbecue igniter stuck in it, so it had a button, ka-chunk. And so we had it where, we figured, we had a ramrod for it and everything. It worked really nice. But when we were first getting it tuned in, I was probably 13. And so you had to, you spray it in the back with it, put the cap kind of up there. You count to 5, and then you thread it on really quick, and then hit it. And boom, it would go off, and it worked bitching. What some of my first experience in muzzle loading was that potato cannon. But when we were experimenting with what propellant worked best, and we hosed it in there and counted to 5 and capped it up, and we're clicking it, click, 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 and it won't go off. And finally, we took the cap off, and we're looking at it, me and my brother, and as soon as it got some air in there, I hit it and whoosh, took my eyebrows right off.
You've got to tell that story on your channel because that makes so much sense. That just absolutely makes so much sense. He's trying different fuel sources, but he's trying to see what the rate of the aerosol to the fuel is going to do in here. How much air do we need?
If he would have stayed in it longer, he'd have been out there making his own aerosol fuel for his potato cannon.
The other day.
We'd had one of those. A kid in town had one of those when I was little, and his mom had told him he could shoot it so long as he shot Nerf balls out of it. That lasted about 5 minutes. Right? And he shot that thing one time, and we all took off running because he shot that dude clear through the wall of a metal building, clear through one side, through the insulation, through the wallboard, into the other side, inside the building. And that was he had built this thing with like a 3-foot chamber, and he made it out of steel. So he had lots of ability, lots of pressure could be built up in that thing.
I like this kid.
I did too. I better not say his name because he might be watching.
Garrett helped build a catapult one time. That didn't end up very well. That's the time That was like the first time Garrett about died.
That was close. It was very, very close. We launching snowballs in the air with a 10-foot 2x4 stacked on a couple railroad ties. And snowballs wouldn't stay on, so I got the bright idea that I'd drive nails through it and stick a snowball on the nail. Well, I've been over to load it about the time my brother, when my brother was actually another girl in town, jumped on it, had a nail right through my skull, right up here. Just grazed me, fractured skull all through here, concussions, 6 months, 6 weeks in the hospital, 6 months. That was an experiment.
Wow.
There's a picture somewhere that if I ever find it, there's a picture where Garrett's face is swelled up this big and it's all black and blue and he's just sitting there going, yeah, give it a thumbs up.
I just remember it. I felt like it must have been like the movies because I felt like I flew about 4 feet through the air and landed on my back, but it must have only been about a foot. It was.
You know, I was in kindergarten and I remember him coming over here and hollering, Garrett's dead. Yeah, well.
Well, everybody thought, including me, that I was. Don't put.
Say the first time I got arrested when I was like 10.
Oh yeah, I was gonna snapper.
It was 4th of July and we had the Roman can, or not Roman can, but the bottle rockets, right? And so we'd hold them and light them, and you just lightly hold it, and it would just shoot out of your hand, go up. So we were at a friend's house, and we were in his front yard, and he lives right in front of this big road. It was basically the highway, an entrance to one of the highways where people were kind of going on and accelerating forward. So I'm holding this thing, and for some stupid reason, as a kid, I was like, I wonder if I can hit the car with it. And we went out, and it actually went into the car, like the back window, and it went around, and it exploded, and the car ended up doing one of these numbers. And thank God they didn't crash. But, oh, my God, 5 seconds later, running through the back alleys and stuff, and, yeah, they called the cops the whole 9 yards. And, yeah, little old Snapper that was the first time Snapper got in real trouble.
We wandered a long way off the subject at hand.
That was pretty entertaining.
I didn't know there was a subject at all.
Yeah.
Carson wants to know if anybody tried white gas in a potato gun.
Ooh.
I built a cannon one time. About blew up the way station at the grain elevator. That was fun.
Out of a ceramic pipe.
Yep, a ceramic pipe that was too big with the PVC with rocket engines in it with a small black powder warhead wrapped in aluminum foil. No stabilizing fins. So I fired it over here and I watch it go this way and then do this. And I'm like, oh boy. It got right over the top of that way station and boom. And I was like, yep, we're not doing that no more.
There's a picture of you firing that somewhere.
Yeah.
I knew where it was. Dad probably has it.
Do you guys ever, the mortar fireworks where you light them and you put them in the tube?
Mm-hmm.
You guys ever shoot those at each other?
Yeah, so the cannon I was just talking about.
This is a subject we will not broach right here.
The cannon that we were talking about.
There may have not been some real trouble over this thing.
Yeah, somebody decided to shoot a Roman candle at me while I had my cannon and a handful of artillery shells. I returned fire and then I got a whooping because the person with the Roman candle might have been next to some elderly folks and some small children.
Oh no!
But Ethan's launching artillery shells in amongst the civilians.
Oh, collateral damage.
That 4th of July ended quick, as I recall.
Yep.
And the 80-year-old couple left the firing range.
Well, I didn't think the artillery shell was going to be as big as it was, but it was definitely.
They look a lot bigger when they go off on the ground than when they go off in the air.
Yeah, they do, don't they? They definitely do.
I'm sure it had a blast radius of like 100 meters or something like that. It was pretty impressive.
Oh,
yeah, they go off much bigger than they look.
They stopped shooting Roman candles though.
About the time you drop one of them upside down the tube, and then find out what they'll really do. Okay, have either of you guys thought about making because we always talk about these pyrotechnic guys, or is anybody going to make any of their fireworks this year? Have you done it yet?
I've never made fireworks. It actually sounds like fun.
My brother makes his own fireworks with all the junk powder.
Oh, really?
Hey,
Yeah.
You got to do something with it.
So you just put different colors of stuff in it, and What do you do?
I don't know how he does it.
I think if you use different metals, like certain metals burn a different color.
people,
I think that's how they do it.
Because it's like, well, you can put magnesium in it and it's pink or something like that. Sodium.
You put
I
a
don't
little
know.
aluminum powder
I've
in
heard
there,
it
and you
mention
got
aluminum
powder.
powder. I know that looks very sparkly, but
very sparkly.
I've been trying to figure out what to do because every time I'd make powder at the end of the week, I sweep up, the table, the floor, everything. I got a couple
Dust.
1 gallon coffee cans of that dust that's full of dirt and stuff. I wonder if that would make fireworks.
I'm sure it would.
I always wanted to bury something.
You
like
might
that
have a
and
lot of
see
fresh
what it would
powder
do, like how
dust.
much ground it would pick up.
Because when you go and you strain off the biggest grain of cannon powder, your yield is not very big.
So, do they not even compress this firework powder or anything? It's just serpentine powder?
As far as I understand it, it's just screened powder, I think, yeah.
I guess you're not worried about feet per second. Well, you want a few feet per second. You want it to get up there a little ways.
I had one guy say that they actually don't want it to burn too fast.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Maybe that's why they
today saying that they actually don't want it to burn too fast.
Maybe that's why they say don't mill it over 6 hours.
Maybe.
They want to keep her slow. Well, gentlemen, I'm not going to help mind telling you it's about midnight and I'm tired.
Okay.
Yeah, we did do a start a late one tonight. I'm sure a lot of our guys are gone. What's up, 27 on? It's pretty good for a snapper live.
You were up past 35 on one channel.
Yeah. Did we run this on your guys' video or channel as well or no?
Nope.
Oh, wow.
It's all on you.
Wow. Well, thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. I thought this was multiple streams.
We got the black powder rock star every time he shows.
That's true. We got Jake.
Yeah, it's funny. I went to the local gun store the other day, and a guy was like, I was watching this guy on YouTube made gunpowder out of toilet paper. I was like, yeah, I think I know something about that guy. Something about him. He's like, this guy making toilet paper gunpowder.
I don't know. This is the first few times in the last few weeks I've actually had people recognize me from my channel, and that is the weirdest feeling in the world.
I'll never have to worry about that, thank God.
Have you run into that yet, Jake? People are
I
know you.
It is odd.
It's like, hi.
It makes me uncomfortable. It's almost like, oh no, they spotted me. Like
they found me. Exactly.
When he was down here, I was really expecting people to, especially at the NT gun show, to know who. I'm sure they did. Like I saw, there were definitely people who saw you and knew who you were. But they're the kind of people that are older, so they're polite. And they don't,
Yeah. I'm not going to say who, but there was an older fella that has a almost 200,000 subscriber history channel from back east who the other day walked up to me and said, "Oh, you're from 11BANGBANG." And I was like, "Oh, no." No. But he's one that everybody knows, I'm sure. But I was thrilled and nervous at the same time to be like, "Oh, you don't watch my stuff, do you?"
Oh, real quick, what do you guys think about that idea for the playing the Oregon Trail, but as like the hardcore edition, where you try to kill everyone except for yourself?
Well, if we have Duke as the guide, he'll win. Because we done.
Well, I think it's getting like several of us, like Plowboy's Ghost and Santee and Dustin, a bunch of people, right?
What I would like to do,
Oregon Trail. Well, the whole idea is that you try to kill everybody except yourself, so when you arrive, you have all their stuff, so now you're rich as well.
I've thought about that, but I've also thought, because the way we do it, when we pay the $25 a month, we can get 10 people on screen at once. If we could get 2 different channels paying for that, and we could run 2 teams of 10 and race.
That'd be cool.
I like your idea too, though, but I've had these ideas. Ethan missed out on the last Oregon Trail run. It was
I was watching it live in Cuba.
Dustin barely. Barely made it.
Oh yeah, he kept getting.
He kept getting snake bit.
Yep. Well, Santee and Duke were sending him off into the weeds to do stuff, and he'd get snake bit. And about the 4th time, I was hoping he'd figure out what was going on.
Well, I liked Santee's response to what they were going to do whenever they got there. Him being the wagon boss. Well, we've arrived. What you going to do? Well, I figure I'll pull a Sam Elliott.
just off himself right there.
Yeah. I figure I'll just pull Sam Elliott.
It's horrible. Well, we've been running for 2 hours and 9 minutes. You guys done, or do you want to go for a couple more minutes?
I'm going to go 2:15, let people get their comments in. I'm good.
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
It's not like Ethan and I got to be down in the canyon bright and early in the morning cutting burnt cedar trees up.
Mm-hmm.
That sucks. I hate cedar trees, man.
Anybody need a carbon source? We got a lot of it.
A lot of charred cedar trees.
Charred cedar trees.
Have you tried cedar black powder? Is that even a thing?
Yeah, it's a thing.
Have you tried Jake? Did we lose you,
Jake? You alive there, buddy?
How about now?
Yeah,
there you are.
Now you can hear me.
So
Cedar.
what was that?
We were asking you about cedar charcoal.
Cedar charcoal, yeah, I've used plenty of cedar. Not recently, but yeah, it works fine.
It's about like willow, isn't it?
Yeah, willow, GoX, all of that stuff's pretty much the same.
Oh,
we got an unlimited supply.
I don't want to use it.
But a lot of charred cedar trees.
I think that stuff would be considered scorched, Ethan. I don't think you would be able to make it into work.
Got a little hot. I gotta say, I was pretty impressed with that fire.
Question for you.
Oh, okay.
Testing that powder over a chronograph, Ethan.
Let's see here.
Yeah, he's gonna test the French powder with a chronograph.
Yep, I'm gonna test it because what I'm planning on doing is, first of all, it's gonna be a part of like a 3-video series before June 15th. First part is gonna be testing the French powder, and I'm gonna do that in my 66 with the actual load for the AN9 musket, which was 200 grains of cannon powder and a 62 caliber round ball, because they actually decreased the size in I think it was 1798, because they kept blowing up the Revolutionary era, the French Revolutionary era muskets, because they were such low quality. So they reduced the bore diameter, or the ball diameter, 62 caliber, to reduce pressure, and then they switched to cannon powder. And I'm going to try 200 grains of cannon powder, and then I'll try 200 grains of probably GoX 1F and see what the difference is. My guess is the French powder is not going to be too good, because that was also they had their powder magazine or their powder manufacturing abilities got destroyed in 96. So they switched from dogwood to lime, which is what I'm using here. Yeah, I've already kind of tested it out, and it's a little slow.
Louisiana Rivero 311 said, anybody have a recommended website to buy powder?
You used to buy
Powder Valley had shoots in available probably a week ago.
Yeah. Well, back in 2019, my go-to was Graff and Son, but I haven't bought it in so long. I haven't checked.
Yeah, we haven't bought powder in what, 2 years, 2 or 3 years?
Since 2019, it's been longer than that.
Yeah, longer than that then.
I mean, I don't buy powder anymore either. It's so freaking expensive.
Whenever it disappeared during the pandemic,
it's easy to make it.
That's when we started making it.
Yep. It's easy to make. It's fun to make.
Yep.
It's not difficult.
Well,
and it makes shooting so much cheaper.
I always have to remember some people don't live where they can do it. Or literally at all.
Yeah, if you live in a different country,
or even
you at your own risk.
People live in apartments and things like that, so they got.
Oh, don't let that stop you.
I'm telling you, Wichita, Kansas, the other day had the first recorded explosion in town that took down a big chunk of an apartment building. Someone was making
big Jake fan, huh?
No, they were making
big old Jake fan.
And it made the news, and they got in legal trouble for doing it in an apartment building. So there was that. So yeah.
Do it in your neighbor's apartment building.
The apartment next to yours is that?
Do it in the apartment next to yours.
Because that will.
That's almost like.
I've often wondered because and I wondered when I read that there's no way he was doing it the way we do in 200-gram batches with a pop apart mill. Because how in the world you take the side out of an apartment building unless you're turning in a 50-gallon drum? I have no idea.
Yeah,
I bet you that had more to. I bet you they were cooking some kind of a drug.
I think they were too, and
they probably weren't doing pyrotechnics. Because I mean, at the most, if you make like a pound, 2 pounds, let's say you're going to mix 2 pounds of powder, be a little reckless here, right? Or hell, even 5, and a 5 pound is not going to blow a wall out of an apartment. Yep. It's not going to do it.
Probably we're making some PETN.
Yeah. We had the town about 50 miles east of us the other day. We heard a rumble, an explosion. We were like, somebody's shooting outside. Well, somebody was trying to clean out a cellar, so they dumped 200 gallons of gas in there and lit it on fire.
Oh, wow.
And
that's the easy way to clean out a cellar, sounds like.
Well, you'd think it would be.
It lifted the cellar out of the ground. I mean, people went to the hospital from the entire neighborhood. It was impressive.
Not gonna lie, I kind of would love to live in a neighborhood like that. That sounds like an interesting place to live.
After that happened, I was trying to burn out an old basement foundation. I didn't use 200.
Other than that,
I used like a gallon, and I had people coming. I had my mom coming out the house asking, "Hey, are you still alive?"
What?
Dude, they got filled the basement. You know how much money that would cost in gasoline or diesel or whatever?
This dude spent well over $1,000 to blow himself up trying to clean out. I guess he was scared of snakes, would be my guess, but I'm not $1,000 scared of snakes. I'll wait for winter.
Saw brown recluse
you think they would just die by drowning in gasoline or diesel if you did that? I mean, you don't need to light it.
It lifted the cellar out of the ground. It set it over. It was the craziest thing. I mean, it was split in two, but it was all over on one side. It was the craziest thing I ever.
My guess is he saw a spider infestation and figured it was a lost cause. Let her go.
Hey, I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
200.
That guy definitely knows how to party. I could definitely tell you that's one of those people you need in your life that definitely knows how to party.
That was crazy.
Can you imagine your friend calling, "Hey, I need your help. What are we doing?" "Oh, we're just going to fill a basement full of diesel. Light it on fire and see what happens."
Louisiana Gray said, "Jake, do you remember about what size wire you use for your charcoal cooker? Maybe a 22 gauge or smaller?"
It is really small, but I don't remember off the top of my head. Sorry, Gray.
Yeah.
And also the
you
question about
the video, didn't you?
I think I showed a picture of what it came in the bag. I think. Oh, maybe I didn't. I don't know. Kind of a lot's happened since then.
Yeah, that's one thing I've learned on making powder videos. You can't show bags. They don't like you to show companies and bags. Have you noticed that? You get a yellow mark if you show Starlighter, the name.
Jeez, I guess I haven't.
If you really watch, if you show anything that says .com on it or the bag will say the name of the company or logo, you'll get a yellow mark.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or it
could be just YouTube does that on purpose. Their algorithm does. That would make sense too.
I mean, I'm really leery, and I don't know how Jake's got away with it so well. I'm really leery about how I do it. So I watch every time, and I'm like, what did I change? Because some of them will be just fine. Every now and then you get a strike. Every now and then you get a yellow mark. Not a strike yet necessarily, but they'll demonetize it. And I have noticed every time you put the company name of a product in there, if you not even have to say it, if it shows up on screen, it's like they have a way to scan for the logo. I don't know what it is.
Louisiana Gray says
they just like messing with you.
Yeah, no kidding.
I don't find any rhyme or reason to it at all. It seems to me that I'll do all the careful things, make sure to use special words, and they'll give me a yellow mark, right off the bat. And other times I'll just say whatever. I'll just appeal it like always, and it'll be green right off the bat. So
I have never had a successful appeal on a powder making video.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know. You're
supposed to call it
I'll usually
sporting propellant. That's the problem.
Ethan's been playing with fire, building a wheel lock, and he got away with it real good till the last video.
Yeah.
they informed us that's not good.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, because we got to keep them assault wheel lock ghost guns off of the street corners.
That's it.
Yep.
Everywhere.
They're all over the place in Detroit.
All
those
over
wheel
the
locks,
place.
you know.
Yep.
Yeah, Jake is a big hater. They do not mess with him. He's high up the ranks with comments.
Big hat. I think he meant Hatter. Hatter.
A big hatter? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's only 10, 15 times bigger than all the rest of us channels.
All of us.
Well, if we could shoot a target at 175 yards in the rear view mirror with a flintlock, we could be that big too, Ethan. What's the holdup?
That is
I think
true.
we talked about this once before. I said, well, you want me to do it with my Charleville with 150 grain stars? That might be a handful.
Hang on.
I mean, by the way, my favorite still
Hey, probably
is
get a lot of
watching your
views.
friend shoot that single action army at 100 and, what was that, 160 yards or something?
180, I think.
108, yeah. Watching a single 5.5-inch single action army shot that far in the original. That was insane.
Yeah, you're a big hitter. That's what it is. Big hitter.
That's what it is.
Now that video idea you're talking about, Garrett, about shooting with the rear view mirror, shoot it with a wall gun, then we could really get a lot of views where I catch the lock, the side of the lock to the face. Yeah, that'd be great. Now I guess that'd be in front of me.
Now you need somebody to suspend you upside down and do it, Jake.
Yeah.
Upside down and backwards.
In a straight jacket, upside down, above a shark swimming in a pool.
Just tie me to the tractor and pick the bucket up or something.
Garrett, we do have a skid steer.
How are you going to top it? Because is that still your biggest video, or you have a bigger one?
No, I'm pretty sure that one is.
Yeah, I guess you don't need to top it once you get that many viewers.
I suppose.
Somebody's about to hit 100K real soon.
Hey, I was only
99.9
subscribers away when I last checked.
What did it say?
Nah.
You're only how many
What
hours?
did it say, Jake?
40 subscribers away from 100,000.
Yeah, that's what had a group text going the other day, and the snapper was like, "Next year when you hit 100,000, we should do this, this, and this." And I'm like, "Next year it's going to be like next week."
No, I didn't mean it like that. I think I probably wrote it wrong. Is I said when you hit 100,000, you should try doing this for this amount of time, and you should try wearing a hula skirt in your next video. That'll help.
That'll bring them in.
That'll bring them in.
Oh man,
Sure, controversy for views.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
that'll work.
Boy, imagine what the comments would be like then. Holy cow.
So hilarious. It would just be, knowing most of your commenters, it would be.
Oh,
Well, I always know if I want a bunch of comments on a YouTube short, I'll go into our little YouTube studio and I'll shoot the video right in front of the Confederate flag hanging on the wall. That never fails to get plenty of comments.
That'll do it.
yeah.
I saw there's a new guy making a bunch of shorts about, and his main shtick is why the Union was better than the Confederacy. And he made a video about why the Confederacy would never defeat the Union because the Union industrial complex was so great. They made 200,000 Spencers, and they made 1 million muskets. And I wanted to write in there and said, yeah, I started the first income tax at the same time, went into debt. The debt went from 63,000 up to, or 63 million up to 5 billion. I'm like, yep, and you still almost lost.
Yeah.
Hey, we made our own rifle guns too. We made like a whopping 3,000.
That's why we had
With Walking Dennisons.
$416,000 over a 10-year period to buy guns after the war.
Hey, don't forget about the 3,200 Brunswick rifles. Oh man, that was a war changer there.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposed to be 4,000, but 800 of them got captured at sea.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Well, boys, we just hit almost 2.5 hours. I'm getting tired, and I still got to go finish painting stuff. Yay.
Yay.
So, you guys ready to call it?
I'm ready when you are.
Sure.
All right, boys. Well, it was a lot of fun having you guys on. We should definitely do this every now and then. It is kind of fun because this is more relaxed, more we can talk about whatever on this channel, so we don't have to worry about getting Garrett and Ethan in trouble. So, and everybody who's been here this whole time, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. I really, really enjoyed having you guys with us. I wish I would have read more comments, and I'll probably go back later on and read more of them. Still getting used to this, being the guy in charge of the stream. But I really do enjoy having everybody here. Thank you guys so much. And, of course, I guess we'll see you guys next time. So I guess we'll go with your guys. Keep your powder dry. And see Jake and Hula Skirt. Bye.
Still alive? Still alive?
It's still